But I think the development of full artificial intelligence will spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object, and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody's checking it out.
With the rocket or whatever, but incredibly fast, opposite direction. It was too fast to be an airplane.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top of it.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
So you said there's lights in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
911, what's your emergency? I need help, please help me!
Aliens won't let it happen. That's what we're instructed to say.
Roswell, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0.
Self-serving. You're here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio.
Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest. Into the digital darkness. Good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange. And hello to all of you who might also have troubled minds. What's up, guys? It's Tuesday night, and that is one of the nights we get together and talk about all the things we're not allowed to talk about. This show airs Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific. And we stream on Facebook, YouTube, DLive, reading the chat out there. I see you guys. And we're also broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. Do you want to be part of the show tonight? Give us a call. Open lines at 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. And like I said, this is the show where we get together and we talk about all the things we're not allowed to talk about. And you know what those things are. Aliens, conspiracy, the paranormal, the government, academia, the 24-hour news cycle, propaganda, and that odd feeling we live in the upside down. And that's what we do. This is, again, like I said, this is one of those shows that kind of is a wide-ranging conversation. Sometimes we do talk about regular kind of parapolitical stuff or UFOs, which we're going to be talking about tonight, actually, UFOs and nuclear facilities, which is an interesting thing because it seems to continually pop up over and over and over again. So it makes me wonder if it's one of those interesting type of situations where we're being fooled, whether it's some version of propaganda or whether it's some form of a legitimate UFO activity going on with these particular things. So I don't know. Again, and as you know, if you know anything about this show or anything about me, I'm not here trying to convince you of anything. I am human, and so I try and be free of the biases that make us human. But it's impossible. But in the end, I don't want to convince you of anything. That's not the goal here. The goal here is to ask some questions. And maybe frame them in particular ways that people don't really do. And, for instance, how many folks talk about UFO propaganda? and whether the things that we're getting in the mainstream media actually are legitimate, or if we're being fooled by the government in some capacity. And that's kind of what we're talking about tonight. As they've said in the past, if you follow any of the UFO shows or any part of ufology, or even if you've seen a UFO and you kind of have looked into it a little bit, done a couple searches on the internet, or you pay attention, right? You just pay a little bit of attention to that world because, well, if it's real, it changes quite a lot of things, doesn't it? But then if it's not, and a lot of it is propaganda. Now, notice I say a lot of it. Of course, I don't like to speak in absolute terms that say just because one is real, they're all real, or just because a few stories are propaganda means they're all propaganda. I think it kind of falls into our lap to really decide those types of things for ourselves, and that's really what we do on this show. Is I figure if you ask the right questions, you get the right people kind of putting their mind to the situation. The wisdom of the crowd will kind of bring the truth about, and that's really what this show is for. So again, this is live at any time if you want to be a part of the show tonight. Looking to hear from you on what do you think now about UFOs and propaganda, okay? And not just that, how about this? UFOs and nuclear facilities. Right, it's one of those things. I even in the past I've kind of tongue in cheek made fun of it a little bit, because it is one of those UFO tropes that resurfaces from time to time. Right, it comes back. It just keeps coming back into the news cycle. You can go back to the 50s and the 60s, and they were talking about UFOs showing up and shutting down nuclear facilities. I've got a whole bunch of stories here of these things happening right in the past. But if you've been paying attention, and that's what I try and do, is pay attention to what's happening in the UFO circles, so you guys don't have to so much. When we have, George Knapp, basically, it just kind of came out with a new set of the same stuff, really. And I hate to say it that way because it sounds like I'm not interested. That's not true at all. It is interesting to me that we continually keep coming back to the same sorts of things, which again is UFOs and here we go. So anyway, let's start with this. This is an article from the dailystar.co.uk, and this is citing the article from Mystery Wire, which of course is George Knapp's website. Okay, so he recently released this piece called "Pentagon Officer and Senator Say UFOs Disabled Nuclear Capability." Okay, so I'm gonna, as always, you guys know this about me. Transparency is critically important, which is why we've always had an open line while doing this show. Which again, I'll put the phone number up from time to time, and I welcome you guys to call and tell me what you think about this. So I'm going to link my sources. So this is from the dailystar.co.uk, and it is a tabloid, right? So, you can roll your eyes or smack your forehead and go, come on, Mike, really? That's fine. But again, you know my source, right? So this is where this stuff's coming from. So it's one thing to have a source from a tabloid, but then it's another thing entirely to have a source from the tabloid-sourced George Knapp and his website, Mystery Wire, right? It becomes two completely different things, okay? So anyway, this is the article from the Star, right? And it says this. Ex-U.S. intelligence officer claims UFOs, quote, disabled our nuclear weapons, right? And like I said, just a little bit of searching, and I found dozens and dozens of old stories of people claiming these things happened. And you can't turn on the History Channel without watching some sort of UFO program these days, and they're talking about the same things. Like this again. Part of my criticism about all of this, it seems to be the same thing regurgitated for the last 75 years, right? Which seems strange, no? Does that seem strange to you? I don't know. It seems a little strange to me. But anyway, so they've been talking about this for quite some time. Like I said, I kind of smack my forehead when it continues to arise. But hey, maybe there's something here. Maybe I'm missing it. Maybe maybe I'm wrong, which is okay, right? It's okay to be wrong. But all right, here we go. So I'm going to read straight from the article here from the Daily Star. Again, it's a tabloid, but it's citing the Mystery Wire article, which we're going to go to in just a sec. UFOs have disabled U.S. nuclear weapons facilities amid fears China or Russia could control the foreign adversarial technology. an ex-intelligence officer has claimed. Luis Elizondo says he was the former director of the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. Right, we've all heard of this if you're paying attention to the UFO world. AATIP, AATIP. Actually, no, they did it wrong. It's AATIP, the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, AATIP, which was a secretive Pentagon unit that reportedly studied UFOs between 2007 and 2012. And so we talked about this actual program in the past, right? AATIP, and how it's really kind of an extension of Project Blue Book. And, we talk about the interesting things that happen with what would you say? Anyway. Okay. Lost my train of thought. Sometimes a dog barks and you lose your train of thought. You know what I'm saying? But okay. So here we go. Let's continue with this. So Lou Elizondo worked at AATIP, and like I said, it was an extension of Project Blue Book in some capacity. And so the expert recently claimed the U.S. government is gearing up to reveal the reality of UFOs. All right, and so there's been a lot of talk about this. Disclosure is coming, and last week we talked about how this could be used against us in some capacity, right, with the fake alien invasion and the rest of these things. So I don't know, I don't know what all this means, but again, right, I think we should talk about it and keep an open mind that this may be real. Of course, that UFOs may actually be doing this, and UFOs may be, who knows, all kinds of things, right? Definitely unidentified, but. I think on the other hand, we have to maybe kind of keep an open mind to consider that this may be a bunch of hooey propaganda to throw off, say, Russia and China or some other folks. So anyway, all right, let's keep reading this. So this is again from the dailystar.co.uk. So Lou Elizondo says he was the former director of AATIP, and he told a press conference, "I think for me, the most concerning thing are those incidents that involve our nuclear equities," he said. There seems to be a very distinct congruency between UAP, which is the unidentified aerial phenomena, associated UAP activity, and our nuclear technology, whether it be propulsion or weapons systems and whatnot. And that's concerning to the point where we've actually had some of our nuclear capabilities disabled by these things, he said, and this is reported by the New York Post. And again, this is straight from the dailystar.co.uk, all right? And this was April 27th. Is that today? What is today? I don't even know what today is. Yeah, I guess that's today. So this is brand new. But the thing is, the mystery wire, I think, was over the weekend. It was Friday, 26th, so maybe not. So I'm time traveling in my own head. But okay, so anyway, this is exactly what he said. I've got the quote right here. So this is what Lou Elizondo said. And he worked for AATIP, the Advanced Aerospace, see what I did there? Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, AATIP. All right. And so he's apparently seen all kinds of insider government information that corroborates the fact that this is true. All right. So, from what I've seen regarding Luis Elizondo here, he seems to be a straight-up guy. He doesn't seem to be pulling any punches. He seems to be trying to be honest as he can, right? That's my perception. But I'll leave that up to you. Here's the actual quote and what he said.
I think for me, the most concerning, not most compelling, but the most concerning are those incidents that involve our nuclear equities. There seems to be a very distinct congruency between UAP, associated UAP activity, and our nuclear technology, whether it be propulsion or weapon systems or whatnot. And that's concerning to the point where we've actually had some of our nuclear capabilities disabled by these things. So, again, let's put this in the context of foreign adversarial technology. If Russia or China had the ability to disable our nuclear strike capability or defense capability, that's pretty significant.
And I agree. If we actually have something that could really just kind of fly in undetected on radar, or just kind of sneak up on you and then just shut down nuclear facilities, we have a problem, don't we? We have a very large problem. And I think once you frame it in that context, I think, it's probably safe to say that these things may be a threat, right? Maybe it's in some capacity. But again, right, could it be adversarial? Could this be Russia or China? Could this be, like Alex Jones says, some sort of breakaway civilization that has achieved some sort of technology that is ahead of governments, or they were allowed and boosted by the government to kind of take this technology and go do whatever they did with it? I mean, who knows? That's why we talk about this. That's why we do it on this show, and that's why we look at all this stuff. But it does seem weird, no? That this entire thing keeps regurgitating. And, we're talking back to the 50s and back to the 60s. And, right after Roswell, when they had all the UFO hysteria of the Cold War. And it's 2021 for crying out loud. And we're talking about the same damn thing they were talking about in 1950. Doesn't that seem strange to you? It seems really, really odd to me, and that's why I call it a UFO trope. That's why I kind of smack my forehead and roll my eyes sometimes when this information comes out. Not to kind of crap on the sources, but I mean, don't you think at some point new information would come out? I think that's what drives me the most insane about paying attention to this, and just kind of covering it and being kind of on the edge of it as it kind of bleeds out into the news cycles. It seems to be a lot of repeats. I mean, we're doing UFO reruns, right, in real time here in the news cycle, which seems weird, does it not? Seems a little bit weird to me. So anyway, that's what we're doing tonight. We're talking about UFOs and shutting down nuclear facilities. And like I said, it seems to be a UFO trope of old, but it's back in the news cycle today. Literally today, and kind of bubbled up by Mystery Wire and George Knapp and Lou Elizondo. So interesting. So we got a phone call. We're going to take that. If you want to be part of the show tonight, we are taking your phone calls all the way through. Just give us a call. Phone number is here, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. You can click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. That's the official website, and we'll put you on the show. Easy as that. So here we go. Let's go to this phone call. Let's go to what's up, Paul in New Hampshire. You're on Troubled Minds with Mike. How are you, my friend?
Hi, Mr. Strange. I'm doing good tonight. Thanks. Great subject. Great talk, man. I love this stuff, as you know now.
Thank you.
I kind of got a question for you before I get into it here, because you have a couple of subjects going on in the media, and then, of course, the old news, which is what happened at nuclear facilities. Let's bring up Rendlesham Forest here. I mean, this has happened to all over the United States, by the way, and been going on for a long time. But you had mentioned George Knapp in the news today. Now, I haven't seen anything because I haven't really looked. A little busy. What's going on with Knapp right now?
Well, so just yesterday, matter of fact, I've got the article up here. It's on Mystery Wire. So they're discussing exactly that, the fact that the U.S. nuclear missile facilities have been compromised, even disabled, during incidents where UFOs appear over highly secure military installations, according to a former U.S. senator and intelligence officer, which was Lou Elizondo, of course. But that's straight from the article there. But that's what's going on. That's why it's back in the news today. And then, like I say, UFO reruns a little bit, right? They're back to the 50s, 60s.
Right. Okay. Exactly. Yeah, I thought it was something new because I'm looking at the article right now that's up on here, and I have to say, right off the bat, this kind of brings me back to the first thing you were talking about with the media and the propaganda use of this. I mean, just recently there was some senator on YouTube, bragging about we don't know what's going on in space and how much we need the Space Force and the dangers of it. And again, you look at some of the people, I'm not going to mention names right now, but I think you can figure out who they are because they're the ones that are bringing this news to mainstream media. And lately, it seems to me, they've been putting up, number one, fake videos. And George Knapp has been part of that. He was one of the guys that let this thing open for ridicule on this latest video that came out of triangles over the Navy ships, which is nothing more than camera artifacts that happen when you use night scope. And I knew that immediately because I've used night scopes and I've tried to use night vision on cameras, and it just doesn't work when you're videotaping stars unless it's in perfect focus. So then you get what they call the bokeh effect, which makes them look like triangles. But I think my point is that why are people that are supposed to be the best people in the business, and again, I'm not going to name these names, but if these people had done their research that have been coming out for the last couple of years saying, well, oh, you were all nuts and I don't believe in this. They should have known about this happening. So what's the point, Mike? Where are we going with this? And I could just, come up with a couple of reasons why.
Well, okay. So let me add to that. So you're talking about the bokeh effect, BOKEH, and Mick West did a whole thing where he kind of, quote, debunked this. Except here's the problem I have with that. The individuals that released this information, we talked about this when it hit. The UFO Joe was actually on the show that night, and we talked about the George Knapp stuff that came out, the photographs in the sky of the new UAPs, UFOs, and then also that was the same day that Jeremy Corbell released this video with the green triangles in the sky. Now, the bizarre thing here is, and where I have a problem just kind of writing it off to a random debunker and saying, yeah, well, it's fake, is because they're saying that this information came from the military itself. Now, what that means, it could mean a whole lot of things, right? That means you have to open up your mind to a disinformation campaign. So that's fine. But I'm just saying that, like, if we're looking at different things like that, I think one explanation doesn't really, maybe it'll handle the green triangles, but it doesn't really handle the other photographs that supposedly had, in like 80 knot wind or something like that, where it's stationary for like an hour or something like, you know what I mean? Anyway, just throwing that out there, that there's more to those stories than meets the eye, than what the debunkers are trying to say. So anyway, I don't know. I just wanted to throw that in there. But so what does it mean? That's a good question. You said you had a couple ideas of what this might mean.
Well, I mean, to go with what you're thinking about what's happening, I can kind of disprove that, because being a UFO researcher, and I have been for a long time, and I mean for over, you know this, I've had a website for 20 years, and that video is old. It's not new. It was taken a long time ago, and back then the night vision scopes were much different. And the second I saw it, I recognized it. And the first time it came out, I knew what it was. And there's also other things that go on, about what he said. The timing of the lights, military radar, or even airports. Now, when you're talking about the other photographs that have come out, they're just that, they're photographs. So until we see actual film that comes from the 35 millimeter cameras that were taken, and it's actual film, because now, mind you, if it's digital, it can be manipulated. It proves, like you said, the egg opens up about disinformation. And that brings me to what you had just asked. Why would they do this? Well, it's pretty simple. What are they doing now in politics? It's nonstop fear, confusion, dividing us, to have people that believe in things and don't. And I see this all the time. I am part of so many YouTube and channels and Facebook groups, and watching on Reddit or Twitter or whatnot, and it's just a nonstop. You put up the fake video, and then it's a fight, because the people, they can't tell they're fake, and there are easy ways to tell this, by the way. And I think that kind of proves the fact that they're willing to put out this information, because you cannot tell me that there's not people that are not paid to put this stuff up. I am proof in the pudding that when I put my videos up, you can see them on my YouTube channel, New Hampshire UFO Hunter on YouTube, on Facebook. You can see who I am. I will tell you who I am. And everybody else is using fake names. And my videos are real, and I have the tape to prove it, yet nobody sees them. And some of them are beyond explanation. And even so much more that I have scientists that have looked at them and stated, and I'm talking big name people. I'm not talking, some guy that worked for Nancy Talbot at BLT Research and then got debunked because well, he was an astrophysicist or whatever.
Right.
Paul, I'm taking the Stanton Friedman term here.
Hey, Paul, we got to take a break here. We got to take a break, buddy. So you want to hang on and continue after the break, or are you finished here? We got 5 seconds.
Yeah, absolutely. No,
okay.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I'm going to put you on hold. Don't go anywhere. You guys are listening to Troubled Minds. I'm on the phone with Paul, the New Hampshire UFO hunter. Don't go anywhere. More UFOs after the break. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and tonight we're talking about UFOs shutting down our nuclear facilities. It's back in the news. And we're streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and DLive. We are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. We're taking your calls tonight. If you want to be part of the show, give us a call at 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. You can also join the Discord by going to troubledminds.org, the official website. And that's what's on deck tonight. That's what we're doing. And kind of keeping up with the UFO news situation. And if you've been paying attention, well, you don't have to because you have me. I'm your secret weapon. I'll let you know when something new kind of comes out in the UFO community that we need to talk about. So anyway, something new came out. We're talking about it right now, and we have Paul from New Hampshire on the phone. Let's go back to Paul. What's up, Paul? Thank you for waiting, my friend. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks. So, as we were talking about before we got, went into your commercial, I take the Stanton Friedman avenue on UFO research, and it's that we need to be debunkers first. We need to look at everything. We need to figure out if you see a video, blah blah blah, where it came from. It's pretty simple. And right now, what you're saying is so just genuine about the fact that if this is happening, if these things are checking out our nuclear facilities and able to shut them down and have a technology that is above and beyond what we have, that this is kind of scary, right? Now, this can go two ways. Number one, it is kind of scary. And that means that they're far more advanced than us. And the facts is that, well, that's the truth. We are not only being visited, and they're not only messing with our nuclear facilities, but they are so much farther advanced than us that they can control this whole thing, electronics, weapons. They're immune to our weapons, and we can go right back to I believe it was 58 or whatever, the L.A. incident, the battle over L.A., and look at, a giant craft sitting over this being hit by thousands of anti-aircraft bullets. People were hurt on the ground, and nothing happened to this craft. So it just gives you a hint of how advanced these things are. And they are not from Russia or China. Again, this is propaganda. And put it this way, if they wanted to attack us, if they wanted to keep us from killing each other, it wouldn't be that hard. There's a point to that, I guess, which is a whole other subject, but then you have to flip back to the propaganda and why would our government do this, Mike? And that's for one reason. Just like I said, the exact same reason that they did everything they did during the last election, to divide us, to create fear, to create a reason to spend what this is all about right now, and it's money. And if you haven't studied anything then about what's going on with right in front of our faces, you shouldn't be studying UFOs. You shouldn't have, it's just, I guess, a generational thing because I've seen it for so long. This has been going on for 50 years. We can go back to the Blue Book. We can go back to that Project Grudge. We can go back to the 12 guys that are in the office. And then now, those were all fake, by the way. They never found anything. But yet now today, Lou Elizondo, the man you've mentioned, is out there spreading this information. And if you have watched the shows he has been on, spreading fear, using them as a fear mechanism, this is not good. And that lines up with how governments work, and that's to build military action against perhaps your couple shows ago you talked about it, a fake alien invasion. Because if aliens, in my mind, again, this is theory, now you can look at my stuff. You can go see my videos. You can read about me. You can see my theories, and I've said it over and over again. It's just a nonstop disinformation campaign filled with some truth. You have to put some truth in this to make it work. You have to get a belief going, and then once you have people believing, and the proof is in the pudding. Guys like you and I have to bust our butts to get people to listen to us because we have real, backed up theories. We have evidence that shows this is going on. You do it every week on your show. You put up article after article after article that some of them are laced with truth and most of them are laced with lies and propaganda and disinformation. And I think you already know that, Mike. So how do we stop this? I don't think we can. That's, I think, to me, the scariest part. Not the aliens, the people that are controlling everything, the new world order that they want.
New world order, and the media and the government, and again, right? I think that's the recipe for a troubled mind, right there. And again, that's why we do it because we are left to try and pick up the pieces and figure out what's actually going on. And there are some people that legitimately, believe what they're told. Like kind of the drive-bys just see, oh, there's some more UFOs in the news. The government has said they're real, right? And so that that keeps getting pushed to the front of the news cycles. And sure, maybe, but also how about the same things keep coming up, right? We're still talking about AATIP, right? The Advanced Aero Threat Identification Program, but they've only really released 3 videos from that program, and we're talking 3 years old now. So that's the thing that drives me the most insane. If we literally have a government program that has tons of information, where is it? Like if they again, yeah, just like you said, I couldn't agree with you more. It reeks of a disinformation campaign. It really does. And
there you go, Mike. 3 videos, really, of grainy videos from planes where they have HD cameras on all of these ships. They got tons of people that won't bring their names out after David Fravor comes forward and lives here in New Hampshire. By the way, kind of odd. I have goosebumps right now. And he's saying, man, what I saw was not from this earth. And I've said the same thing. And not only that, my videos are better than what they showed you. And I have almost 2 hours of footage. And I have scientists backing me up, and nobody sees that. And the government's shoving this down your throat. And then they're shoving the fake videos down your throat on top of it. The ones that I've seen and been able to debunk, and other people have been in. But there might be a reason for that with the debunking. Then this is, again, more proof than theory, is that every time a good video comes out, they have so much stuff come out, so many people, experts, quote experts, that you have the guys that say, well, this is real, and then you have the guys that say they don't, but then something happens, it gets hidden away, and then the fake one comes out. I believe that's to cover up the real ones, because if we all figured out, well, they've been here all along, and you said it, people believe this stuff because it's a generational thing. It happens every 10 or 20 years where the sightings all of a sudden start popping out left and right. Or, you have something happen that is really just unexplainable. It's not a rocket spinning off into the sky because of a rocket test. It's just really good footage, like the Israel footage, the Dome of the Rock. And then you have a couple of fake videos come out after that. I think that's almost the best case to look at this in the subject you're looking at right now, where you have the Dome of the Rock. This guy takes the footage. If you look at the debunking efforts, oh, he was fake. There was nobody would take credit for it. That's a lie. The guy has come forward. He's got the original tapes. And I knew it right away when I saw it that it was real. Again, I can tell when I see a video because of experience. And it just, then the fake ones came out. And not just one, several. Some pretty good CGI, by the way. That it wasn't just average people doing CGI. This had to have been someone that knew what they were doing, that was hired to put out this footage to make people go, well, now it's real. And then what happens is they figure out it's fake. Somebody figures out it's fake, debunks it. They use the debunking campaign, and everybody believes it. So you have confusion. And why would they do that? It's to lie. It's just why. And why do they lie? Because they're not going to come down here and attack us.
Yeah, well, and like you said, confusion and division. I think that's the important part. You have to just drop it out there and then let the UFO folks just fight over it, and that's what continues to happen.
Yeah, exactly. Look at Facebook groups. Go to one and then put up bad footage, and everybody's like, "Oh, that's so cool." And then you have somebody like me or somebody else come along, and it's like, "Come on, man, do you really believe that?" And you get attacked. And, and then the people that say, "Oh, that's so cool," get attacked. You're like, can you believe they said that? And you have to, I guess, in my mind, I have to be one of those guys just for the fun of it, I guess, to try and prove it and say, look, guys, there's a reason this is happening. And like you do, Mike, is that, troubled minds, we, trying to spread some real information in just a nonstop river of bunk.
And that says it all. We're going to go, man. I appreciate the call. Everybody, please follow the New Hampshire UFO Hunter. This is Paul from New Hampshire. Great guy. Has been part of the show on and off for over a year now, for sure. But we'll talk to you soon. You're the best, man. Fantastic call tonight, as always.
Back at you, Mike, and I appreciate everything you do. So let's chat sometime offline.
You got it, buddy. You got it. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, brother. Talk to you.
Thanks again for the call. There you go. If you want to be part of the show tonight, we're talking about UFOs. And not just UFOs, though. It's back in the news, this UFO trope of old, where the UFOs are actually... they're interested in our nuclear facilities. And Lou Elizondo actually came out and said recently on an interview with George Knapp and Mystery Wire that, actually, I'm not going to tell you what he said. I'll just play the clip. I got the clip right here. And then there's another one that actually piggybacks on top of that. But this is what we're talking about tonight. UFOs actually engaging, shutting down, interacting with our nuclear facilities, okay? Which, again, is concerning. All right, if this is real, this is definitely concerning. Like, what's really going on with this? But here we go. Let's hear what Lou Elizondo actually had to say. This is from Mystery Wire with George Knapp, and just a short clip of a longer interview. I think it was a full hour he did with the press, which I watched, I think, back on Friday. But here you go. This is what he said.
I think for me, the most concerning, not most compelling, but the most concerning are those incidents that involve our nuclear equities. There seems to be a very distinct congruency between associated UAP activity and our nuclear technology, whether it be propulsion or weapon systems or whatnot. And that's concerning to the point where we've actually had some of our nuclear capabilities disabled by these things. So, again, let's put this into context of foreign adversarial technology. If Russia or China had the ability to disable our nuclear strike capability or defense capability, that's pretty significant.
Yeah, exactly it is. And so he does frame it. He didn't say the most compelling. He said the most concerning, right? It's interesting, the words he chooses, and that's fine. I think that's probably a good way to put it. Because, interestingly, like Paul was saying when he called there is more compelling UFO footage out there, which is bizarre to me that, MUFON's got this entire database just full of information, right? People send videos and photos and all kinds of things to these folks, and it's kind of behind paywalls. Like they hide the information and then they, turn it into TV series and things like this, like Hangar One. I just don't get it. Like, literally, if we're talking about extraterrestrials in the sky, all right, don't you think that should be one of the things that's open source so people could kind of look into it? Again, all of this seems so bizarre to me that it just kind of doesn't make sense. I mean, I understand people kind of protecting their assets and their investments and things like this, but for crying out loud, we're probably talking about the one of the greatest conspiracies in the history of humankind, right? So I just don't get it. Paywall it. We know the secrets to the universe. and we'll tell you for $4.99 a month. You know what I mean? But it's not even that. You can't even sign up and get access that way. It's not even as simple as that. So I don't know. It does drive me a little bit crazy when this stuff kind of regurgitates back into the news. And it's old stuff. Great in the chat here. We are streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and DLive. Let's see. Lucy Bell 47 says this. Have you read Robert Hastings' book, UFO and Nukes? It's not anything new about the interference with our nuclear defenses. And that's exactly what I'm saying. So I haven't read that particular book, but I do know that this has been happening, at least, rumored to have been happening from different sources, different accounts, and for decades, literal decades. So it is interesting that it's back in the news today. All right. Literally today. This article is from today, or yesterday, actually, April 26th and updated April 27th. Okay. So this is what's happening here. And again, so this is from Mystery Wire, and this is what it says straight from the article. U.S. nuclear missile facilities have been compromised, even disabled, during incidents where UFOs appear over highly secure military installations, according to a former U.S. senator and an intelligence officer who previously acted as the director of a once secret Pentagon investigation of UFO incidents. Lou Elizondo, a career intelligence officer who abruptly resigned from his Department of Defense assignments in 2017, shared this information days ago during a news conference arranged at the request of several major news organizations, right? And so I think that's the thing. It's this is why I saw it and thought this was several days old, because I think I watched this on Friday. This actually dropped kind of like Friday evening, and it's a full hour. I'll have links to all this stuff, and you can go watch it. I encourage you, if you're interested in the topic, go watch it in its entirety. One of the funny parts about it is Lou Elizondo has a way of really saying some things with not really saying some things. You know what I mean? Like he says a lot of words, but he can't really tell you a lot of anything. So it is frustrating in some capacity. So anyway, that's what he said. But then it gets better. So this is not just. So this happened just recently. This interview where he discussed the UFOs and the nukes being shut down and all the rest of this. But then there's a congruency. There's an actual a statement from Harry Reid. Everybody remember Harry Reid? What's up, Josh? I see you on the chat there. No, I'm not plugging his Stephen Greer app. What are you talking about? Yeah, all right. So anyway, no, we're not doing that. But okay, here we go. Now, Harry Reid, right, the Senate Majority Leader, the Democrat from Nevada, of all places, and with infamous friends with Robert Bigelow of UFO infamy, I guess you would say. Who also has connections to MUFON, and I mean, the tangled web, right? The tangled web we weave. So anyway, Harry Reid, he actually made a statement last year regarding this exact thing. So let's hear this. Let's hear what he's talking about. Harry Reid discussing exactly what Lou Elizondo said. Now, if the Senate Majority Leader for probably 35 or 40 years or however long he was in it, if he doesn't know anything about it, they say that he's one of the guys that would know. Because he's done some activism. They say he was part of putting together AATIP. He put out a letter recently saying that Lou Elizondo is real and he did work for that program. Anyway, here's what he said about a year ago regarding UFOs and nuclear installations.
The occurrences of people seeing unidentified flying objects is not a dozen people here, a dozen people there, 20 here. Thousands of people have seen these, and on occasion, many hundreds of people saw the same thing at the same time. We have occurrences that are not disputed at some of our missile bases where the whole base was shut down. If they had been asked to fire a missile, they couldn't. No one knows how they did that. We have ships that their communications went dead with these things in the water. So this is not something that just a few crackpots are trying to make a big deal out of. This is something that we as a country should be involved in it, because I guarantee you Russia's involved in it. I guarantee you China's involved in it. And European countries, especially France, has been involved in it.
Okay, you see? So not only have these UFOs supposedly shut down or interfered with nuclear facilities, now he's also saying they've cut communications from ships and kind of made them inert, dead in the water. So, sort of another way to say it there. I mean, and these are supposedly coming from people that are in the know, that have been working on this UFO thing for quite some time. And what does all this mean? When all this, again, it bubbles up in the news now, it's literally now, yesterday and today, but it's the same. It's the same old story. It's the same old song and dance, right? So, do you mean to tell me that in 60, 70 years, we don't know anything new? I mean, is that true? Do you think that dozens and dozens of UFOs actually interfering and shutting down nuclear facilities have been happening over the decades, and we don't know a damn thing about it? I mean, is that possible? Or is it more likely something else is the case here? I think that's why we're talking about this. That's why we think about this. That's why it's interesting when these things kind of hit the news wire. And the UFO crew, God bless them. They want to believe. I want to believe too. I'm not doing this to crap on anybody or say, ha ha, you're wrong or you're wrong. I'm just saying, like, you got to be aware that the sources of this information sometimes is coming from the government. And, the government, of course, when we're talking about national defense, national security, we're talking about things like this. What can you do? They're not going to tell us. They're just not going to tell us. I don't know. But then you get the debunkers that just run away and, and they no matter how compelling, they're just trying to it's like a religion either way. I think you have to have one foot in both camps and take the data as it comes and, make up your own mind. I think that's the most honest way to do this. And that's why we do it, right? Like, that's why we do this show. That's why we talk about this stuff. Sometimes it's even a repeat, sometimes, like I said, these news cycles, like, really? I mean, this was 1960s we're talking. This is a long ass time ago. And tonight, it just hit the news again. Pentagon officer and senator say UFOs disabled nuclear capability. So what does that mean? That's pretty threatening, right? I mean, so, there's your threat narrative right there. If they're able to just shut down nukes, well, maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. I think that's why we do this. That's why, again, this is not the answer show. This is the question show. And so the questions for tonight that I posed to you, and we do have open lines. Love to hear from you. Thank you, Paul, for the first call. We also want to hear what you guys think. The questions are this tonight. It's simple. If this has been going on for dozens of decades, multiple decades here, dozens and dozens of years, then how come we don't know anything new about it, right? This was happening in the 60s. Like we had in the chat there, somebody said they wrote a book about this way back. It's been happening for a very long time. So how do we not know anything about this? I would assume the government knows quite a bit about this. If they were shutting down nuclear facilities back in the day and they're still doing it, I think they probably know quite a bit about it. Have signals, intelligence, and all kinds of stuff they could really go into to find the information, right? Radar and radar data, all kinds of stuff. But, well, they don't, do they? Or at least if they do, they're not telling us. But it's leaking and it's hitting the news wire again. So what do you think it is? That's the question tonight. What do you think this is? Do you think it poses a threat? Why is it back in the news cycle? And what the hell? What the hell? Let's leave it there. So if you want to be part of the show tonight, 702-957-1037, looking to hear from you. What is all this UFO stuff? Are they really shutting down our nuclear facilities? If they are, and they've been doing it for a very long time, how come nothing has changed? How come the government somehow doesn't know anything new and it's hitting the news like it's brand new, when, let's be real, this is not new at all. It's just not. It's just not. All right, so if you want to be part of the show, like I said, 702-957-1037, still taking your calls. We're going to go for another hour here on Fringe, and then another hour after that on YouTube, D Live, and Facebook, and looking to hear your calls. We've got plenty of time for you, so please dial that number. Phone number's up, and don't go anywhere. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange, and more UFOs, more talk about shutting down nuclear facilities after the break. Don't go anywhere. Be right back.
I wish none of this had happened. So do all who live to see
sets times, but that is not for them to decide. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to us. There are other forces at work in this world, Frodo, besides the will of evil. Bilbo was meant to find the ring, in which case you also were meant to have it. And that is an encouraging thought.
Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness. Good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange. And hello to all of you who might also have troubled minds. What's up? This show is live. We are streaming live on DLive, Facebook, and YouTube. We are streaming live on the Fringe FM. We're taking your phone calls tonight. If you want to be part of the show, give us a call at 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. You can go to troubledminds.org. It's the official website. Phone numbers at the top. You can join the Discord as well. Taking your calls that way. It's a chat client. The Discord is a chat client, a voice client, and it's what we use to do a radio show. So tonight we're talking about UFOs, but not just regular UFOs. We're talking about those mysterious lights in the sky that arrive over nuclear facilities. Yeah, that's right. Nuclear facilities. And they interfere with and even shut down our nukes. Interesting stuff, right? This is actually a story that goes back decades. Decades. Several decades. Many decades at this point. And this is one of those things that, again, right, for some reason, I just, like, as being somebody who does this show, clearly, obviously, but as a result of that, I pay very close attention to the UFO community and the information that kind of comes out and kind of comes through. And, as it hits the news cycles and, the propaganda news cycles and whatnot, I pay close attention to it. And it frustrates me to no end that we find the same things regurgitated over and over and over again. And in this case, so we're starting with this dailystar.co.uk article. Again, it's a tabloid. I'm going to link the source so you guys can always find it. Part of the transparency process of the show, I want you to know I'm not making this stuff up. I have a source here, and it's where we're starting with this. Now let's just hit the newswire. Again, yesterday, and the headline here reads, ex-U.S. intelligence officer claims UFOs disabled our nuclear weapons. All right. Disabled our nuclear weapons. Like you're kidding me, right? You're kidding me. I mean, this isn't new. This isn't new. I've got information that goes back decades here, like I said, where they were talking about the same stuff. And not only that, this individual that actually, the ex-intelligence officer, his name is Luis Elizondo. And, like I said, my read on this guy, just never met him, never interviewed him, nothing like that. But just from kind of watching his interviews recently, I think that he seems to be a stand-up guy, in my opinion. I don't think he's a disinformation agent. I think that he believes what he believes, and he's actually a UFO activist. But it's frustrating that he knows a ton of stuff that he can't say. And so, you get these interviews. Like I said, on Friday night, he did a 1-hour interview taking questions from the press. It's on Mystery Wire. It's chopped up into 3 parts there. And he spends a whole lot of time talking about things he can't talk about, and I think that's the most frustrating part. That's what drives me most insane about this. The regurgitated information, UFOs disabling our nuclear weapons, and then an actual government insider that can't give us any information. You understand what I'm saying? It's frustrating. It's beyond frustrating because, of course, if if the case was this, that we have actual aliens out there, right? Aliens in the sky shutting down our nukes. We have a major problem, do we not? I mean, I think that's to put it lightly. Like, we've got a gigantic problem. So I don't know. So again, I pose the question to you: what is this all about? How come this is back in the news cycle now? And how come it seems to be like the same regurgitated UFO tropes from the days of old? I think that's the thing. And like I said before we took the last break here, it just seems to me that the government would know more about it, right? Given decades of the exact same thing, UFOs shutting down nuclear facilities for decades, literally decades. I'm not even making that up. And now we're just, again, it's hitting the newswire like this is brand new and we don't have any new information to go along with it. I'll play the clips and let you know. We got a couple calls in Discord, so let's go with John on Discord. John from Facebook Jail. What's up, my man? You're on Trouble Minds with Mike. How are you?
Hey, buddy. It's been a while since I've been able to call in there.
Yeah, welcome back. You had a baby, right?
Yeah, I had our third kid. She was born on 4/20.
Nice.
8 pounds, 19 and a half inches long.
Nice.
Yeah, a little brunette beauty right there, I tell you what.
Nice. Congratulations.
Thank you. Man, I tell you what, tonight I'm pretty excited. You're challenging the narratives. It's just refreshing to hear that compared to what we've heard in the past news cycles. Normally people, they hear UFO and they think automatically alien. They don't think a big hunk of space junk. And I think you watched Tim and I's show the other day when we were talking about this could be a big hunk of space junk out in space with the near collision for SpaceX. That turned out to be a big hunk of space junk.
Did it? I didn't follow up on that, but I take your word for it. I mean,
yeah, big rock.
Yeah,
got it on video. Yeah, it was on video.
Yeah, I did. Like I said, I just saw it in passing. It was like a little tiny. It was tiny, right? The thing was like it was tiny. Am I right?
Yeah, it's you
okay.
Throw a baseball or softball bigger.
Yeah,
but
go ahead.
The UFO took out our whatever you call them, nuclear weapons. Well, I mean, that could literally mean a space rock or a big hunk of junk hit a satellite with nuclear weapons on it. I mean, we know that the Russians have the rods of God, missiles, not missiles, they're like big spears on satellites in space. So it's not too far-fetched to imagine we probably have a nuke or two on a satellite. You know what I mean? So...
yeah, especially now. I mean, they were talking about doing that stuff back in the 80s, so clearly I think it's probably has happened since.
Oh, yeah. And honestly, if you think about it, like, we have radar now, which is laser radar. And people, like, to think that we don't know what's going on around us. Well, I mean, we know there's an asteroid heading with a debris field behind it in 2028, that we're not really worried about the big one, but all the small debris field that's behind it. I mean, so if you're going to know something that's, 7 years away at this point, 10 years when they found it, I mean, you kind of have a picture of what's going on around you. And to me, I really don't feel like we're getting the full story with what's going on with Mars and the moon and all that, because we know that Russia and China backed out of the International Space Station, and they're wanting to put a base on the moon between those two countries. And then you have Elon Musk with his rockets, where really our only transport vehicles. We already have, ships that can get off the ground and go just fly into space, no problem. We've had them with spy planes for 30 years. That's why we have pilots with spacesuits that, I can't remember what that big black plane, spy plane's called. Maybe you remember it, but
SR-71.
Yeah, SR-71. So I mean that's technology that we know about. So you already know the stuff we don't know about is even more, because the government has this thing where they like to have technology that's more advanced than what there is knowledge of, because it makes them look like godlike. You know what I mean? So it's like, look, there's this big bad thing out in space. So I wouldn't be surprised if they don't already have a satellite relay system going out to Mars instead, because, there's 15-minute delay between here in the United States to, robots on Mars. I don't know how much I really believe that if the military decided to operate that robot. And there's so many things that go up into space all the time. And we have a debris field around our planet because of all the space junk. And so, if they're going to call everything a UFO, like, they really need to designate a new name besides unidentified flying object, because now we're getting excited about space junk. Like,
well, they did. There's a new name. It's called UAP. It's unidentified aerial phenomena, right? And so, oddly enough, that includes radar spoofing, right? Because phenomena is not an object. You notice how they changed the name. So I mean, they did, but it hasn't caught on, and with nothing new, again, for some reason it bubbles back into the news cycle, and we're talking about crap from 50 years ago. Like, come on, this is not new. This is not new, guys.
Well, spoofing is so like, okay, so we all know that Space Force isn't about space; it's about cyberspace. Yes, they will use satellites out in space and stuff like that, but right now it's just cyberspace. So adding in the designation is just so silly.
Yeah.
Because all that means is there's another computer programmer on the other side of our planet that has a grudge against the United States and works for another country's government. And then they spoof us. It goes into our news. And then we have every person, including myself, coming out going, what's that? And it's ridiculous, because it's going, like, if we get excited about every hunk of junk and every radar spoof and every cloud movement that looks like a billy goat, it's going to subtract away from the real cool thing, which is what could be there, what couldn't be there. I know you and I kind of see aliens a little bit different. We've talked about in the past, but I don't know. I feel like it's a big distraction right now. Because usually when it's in the mainstream media is kind of the distraction, and really alternative media, like Tim and I have been doing a couple of tests on our show to see how many people start repeating information, just like within the next show or two. And we've had a couple shows where we've intentionally given out something stupid and then watched other shows pick up on it. So we know that there's a lot, and I'm not saying you're doing it, because I really like what you do with your show. It really kind of tests the bounds and lets people think for themselves. But there's a lot of shows out there that they rinse and repeat news cycles because they listen to each other and they kind of play off each other. So, then they get on their own sidebar of disinformation or like cycles of information. So it's just really weird to watch alternative media do the same thing as mainstream media. Mainstream media say that alternative media is wrong. Alternative media say mainstream media is wrong. But everyone's repeating a narrative that no one can really research. And tonight you came out with some good stuff saying, hey, I've researched this stuff. I already have 50 years of evidence that this has been happening. And for anyone to really doubt, I mean, you've provided the links and you provided some other stuff. I mean, you can't refute that evidence. And I'm really excited to see someone else pull out some information from the past and say, this stuff is BS and I can prove it. And I'm sorry you got some people that are not all on board with the radical logical thinking, as I like to call it, because it's radically logical. I guess people just aren't used to it. But man, I'm so excited to see you do it.
Thank you. And so if you're going to talk about logical thinking, I have to call you a terrorist. I'm sorry. I'm gonna call the folks that are in charge of that, and you'll have a knock on your door coming up.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I mean, clearly I'm joking, but I think the problem is exactly that, is that the news cycles follow each other, right? And just like you said, it is this huge feedback loop. of people saying the same things. And I get it. I get it, man. I mean, don't you want aliens to be real? Don't you want like the lights in the sky to be like, holy crap, that's those little green men out there, right? I mean, don't you want that to be real in some capacity?
I think what's happened now is alternative media. A lot of guys and gals have sank that as being their new career venture, and they've become burnout with hours of research that it takes to give an accurate broadcast. So I think they're financially dependent on it, kind of like how everyone planned them to end up being. And then they have to cycle information based on what users like, and then it traps them in a loop. And they all know that this guy made money off of this, so now I got to make money off of it. And we're going to talk about the same thing. And it's not so much about the importance of the message. It's just providing that message with their face and a better background for someone, or maybe a better microphone or something like that. And alternative media is really tanking because the people who are in it now just have no real enthusiasm for the truth. They're turning into an all show thing instead of really, I mean, if we want to go back to what alternative media is, instead of hiring a new videographer or forming a big event, they would hire 4 new researchers, because you could pay me a lot less than you would to put a venue together to have like a rally or something like that. But that's what media needs to get back to, especially alternative media, because what it is now is a husk of what it used to be, and everything is so redundant, and it's created these microcultures of, I listen to these type of medias and they listen to these type of medias, and everybody listens to their own little type of media. And then sometimes we'll share a media, but then you get into the chats of that media, and the medias and the chat rooms are so toxic because you have the hardcore followers of that ideology that push out all the ideology of other people. And instead of developing talking points that are proven through historical means, through measures, through old journalism, through FOIA requests, stuff that it used to be, now it's kind of like a sideshow in the chat and then a sideshow on the show. You know what I mean? So it's really diluted.
Yeah, and not only that, like go into any of those UFO groups and just post something that's not, kind of like skeptical, right? And they will come, they'll come after you. The mob comes, man. The mob is, they've been trained very well that if somebody tries to refute your worldview, it's go time, it's war, right? And that's and I think Paul had a great point when he first called when we started off the show tonight. He was talking about that this is just another division. It's another way to divide people. They throw out some information. Some people say it's garbage, it's not real. Some people say the aliens are here, and there you go. Sit back, eat the popcorn, and watch the fight begin. And it's just more lefty righty stuff, right? It's unbelievable how brainwash media has kind of taken hold of everything in this day and age. And you would think of all things, we have the internet now. Right? Like I met you, I met Tim, I met like all the people that have been on this show. I met you all on the internet, right? Lots of smart people out there with independent thoughts. So you would figure, right, that this would be like a renaissance of sorts. Like we would be coming back into some version of enlightenment somehow. But instead, we're poop emojis and the mob rule on the internet. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable that the tool's been turned upside down, and here we are trying to pick up the pieces and figure this out. So what do you think about all this? The UFOs and the nuclear facilities. You think that's just a bunch of propaganda, or you think there's something to it?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything to it. I mean, the guy sounds credible, but here's the thing. When it comes to extraterrestrials, there's no experts, because there's no extraterrestrials that have been brought out on camera and said, hey, this is my green friend. His name is Steve. He's a vegan, but he's from Uranus. That's not happening.
Right.
Now, there's going to be experts. Yeah, exactly. But when it comes to this stuff, I mean, humans And you're so right about this being, it could have been a renaissance. But here's the thing. Humans are naturally tribalistic by nature. So if you want to look at the big example, there's a country, and then every country has their own division of inside that country. So provinces in, Canada, states in the United States. Well, the United States is even crazier because we got states, we got counties, you know what I mean? And then we got educational districts and stuff like that. So everything is about being tribal. And when it comes to being online, we are going to naturally gravitate to people who support our opinion when there's an overwhelming amount of people who support our opinion. And when there's an overwhelming amount of people that don't support our opinion, we are going to just totally go the opposite way. And it's just, that sucks, because with how tribal people are and by nature, it is a total, I don't even know how to say it, like a put off to further science. It really takes people who normally don't agree with each other to basically sit in a room and figure something out and be on a payroll to figure something out. You know what I mean? It's nowadays society is too broke down because access to everything can destroy anything.
Well, exactly. And not only that, then you just, pile in terabytes of propaganda and misinformation, disinformation. And what do you expect? Literally, what do you expect? It's unfortunate. There's literally a concerted effort to keep smart people from getting together and not hating each other. And I think it's pretty easy to prove that at this point, all the division stuff. Just think about it. You rewind 20 years and where people literally at each other's throats over politics of all things. Politics, people.
It's my brother-in-law actually just told my wife tonight he doesn't want to talk anymore because of politics. So it's crazy to me.
Yeah. Brainwashed division. It's all there. It's all happening right in front of us, man. We got about a minute left. About a minute left. I know you got a good show you're doing. You want to plug that real quick and wrap up the call?
Yeah, so it's Tinfoil Timothy on DLive. Everything we say is 100% accurate, and there's no way to deviate because our opinion is the only one that matters. I'm just... But yeah, we do a lot of research, and we appreciate you for letting us on your show, and thank you for doing what you're doing tonight.
Appreciate it, my man, and thank you for contributing. Congratulations again to you and your wife and the family for the baby, and we'll talk to you soon, okay?
Right.
Thanks a lot, man. Thanks a lot. That's John from Facebook jail. He permanently resides in Facebook jail, and I think it's funny. So he's John from Facebook jail. But anyway, him and Tim from Georgia do a show called Tinfoil Timothy. You can find it on DLive. It's always linked on our YouTube. So if you come find us on YouTube, you can find their links and everything else. So good stuff, right? Like I said, lots of smart people out there, lots of independent thinking, and we don't have to agree, guys. It's okay. We can disagree with each other and not hate each other. Again, it seems like such a simple thing, but it doesn't exist anymore. Think about that. Breaking up families over garbage politics. I mean, the political scene is not even it's not honest. It's just not honest. They both sides lie constantly to try and get you to believe the crap they say, and then we're breaking up families over this. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable, and it's difficult, and it sucks, and that's why we do this show. So, all right, this is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. We're talking about UFOs, and they're shutting down our nuclear facilities, apparently. It's back in the news cycle from Lou Elizondo and George Knapp of Mystery Wire, and we're going to keep talking about it. So we've got another segment here on Fringe FM. We are broadcasting live. Looking for your phone calls. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. We got somebody on Discord we'll go to right after the break. Don't go anywhere. More UFOs and nukes when we get back.
The truth is out there, and so are we. KTLK Digital Broadcasting, The Fringe FM.
Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We are streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and DLive. We are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM, and we are talking about UFOs. Apparently, it's back in the news that they've shut down nuclear facilities, and we have experts declaring this to be true. What do you think? Love to hear from you tonight. Is this propaganda? Is this fear-mongering? Is this little green men? Is it somewhere in between? 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Give us a call. We'll put you on the show, and we'll talk about UFOs and all kinds of other fantastic and fun things. And let's do it. We've got a caller here on the Discord. This is DJ. Let's go to DJ. DJ, you're on Troubled Minds with Mike. How are you, my friend? Testing 1, 2. Are you there?
Hello.
What's up, DJ? How are you?
Well, how are you today?
Doing good. Doing good. What do you think about this this UFO nuke stuff?
Well, I'm thinking in terms of extraterrestrials or aliens. Of course, it could possibly be just space junk and so on. Well, the thing is, like, this makes me think of the first UFO sighting in Roswell.
Yeah, 1947, New Mexico.
Yeah, like, what if this happened before? Like, I know you guys were just talking about how still talk about the same things 50 years later and so on, but it does beg a question, like, how much has the UFO really changed? And if it hasn't changed that much, why? You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. And that's why we're talking about this. So it could be many things. And so I'm kind of taking the angle tonight that it may be, I'm frustrated personally because it's the same thing over and over, right? So that's really the angle we're taking here, just because, I'm the one talking the most. But I'm open to all the ideas. I'm open to the fact that this could be little green men. And like you said, maybe if they haven't changed, maybe they want us to change. Who knows? That's a good point. Want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, because, well, it really depends on the aliens, to be honest. Like, it depends on, like, their species, their society. But, like, interesting. If we are, like, if they're researching us, and because they're probing us and so on, this is just one possibility. It's not necessarily a guaranteed one. But, like, if they're researching us, they might not want us to kill ourselves or to injure them while they're researching us. So, hence why they disable nukes, because back in Roswell it's like kind of crashed or shut down, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that is true. At least that's what we're told, right? That's the mythology of it, that there was a crash, they were possibly shot down. Tom DeLonge has said that maybe our nuclear activity, our tests, is what actually brought them down. So yeah, who knows? I mean, and this is all part of it, is that we don't really know what to believe. We have a lot of, quote, experts saying a lot of things, but then we have a lot of clearly fake information coming out into the news cycles, right? Fake videos on YouTube. Everything's so fake now that I think, my first knee-jerk reaction when I see something new is I go from the stance that it's fake. Not because I don't believe in the possibility of little green men. I do, clearly, or I wouldn't be doing a show like this. But I believe that the information we get is probably a huge chunk of misinformation. And so that's part of why we do the show in this format, to hear from you guys. Because, I could just rant on about what I think, and I do a lot. But we get to hear what you guys think as a community, and it changes my mind a lot. It just depends on what we're looking at, what particular information, what the data is. Yeah, and here we are trying to figure it out, right? So what do you think then? If this is, let's go with the fact that these are aliens, okay? And if they've been on our nuclear facilities for decades, what do you think is happening? Do you think they're trying to give us a message, like some have claimed, that they're trying to tell us we're going to kill ourselves if we don't shut down the nukes, and it's kind of an indirect way for them to tell us? Or do you think it's something else?
I think one way or another, like, if these are probing us and so on, I think definitely they're trying to research us, but anything else is just speculation. Like, anything else, just we don't know. And here's the thing, what you said about the misinformation. How about we go into, like, how misinformation impacts the research on these things, you know what I mean? And how we can combat it. and like what to do regarding this. Because like his interesting question now I got to ask: what if the misinformation campaign so on, they don't just influence the public, they don't just impact the public or us or whatever. They also impact the ones who are responsible for it, if that makes sense.
Yes, and I think that's the way these campaigns work, right? We did a whole show on information operations, and they do this to kind of just change the structure of the conversation across the board, right? And so you're right. I think it could be to change the minds of, they say, people on the inside, people in the Pentagon that don't want this information to get out, that they're saying that, the disclosure method has now become, Lou Elizondo and AATIP and this whole bit, To the Stars and Tom DeLonge and these guys that are, George Knapp, that are pushing the information out, is they're trying to change the minds of the people in the Pentagon by getting us involved in the conversation, right? You drum up enough interest, there's pressure on them to really release the real information. I mean, sure, fine, right? So it does exactly what you said. It does work on multiple levels, the public, and then also pressure on the politics and everything. So again, it seems like it's a simple thing, but it's not, man. You're spot on with that. It's so complicated with the layers of the information, and then the disclosure, and then the government involved, and then the national defense, and and then we're not even talking little green men yet. You know what I mean? It's a complicated thing. It's a complicated thing.
And here's the thing, like the misinformation, like you said, doesn't just impact the public, whatever. It also impacts your own organization, who's doing the misinformation in the first place. Because like, if your own organization believes in misinformation, like they believe it, after a while, like maybe new blood or whatever, that does impact how much knowledge a group has and how effective they are, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think you're right. Like I said, there's a lot of angles to this, and that's why we get together and talk about it. So do you believe in the end, we got another call behind you, so we got to move on here. A couple questions for you real quick before I let you go. So do you believe that extraterrestrials are real, and this could be them sending us a message? Or do you think which side are you leaning? More of like the misinformation side, or do you think this is actual UFOs, maybe dimensional or from another galaxy or whatever? Where do you stand on that?
Both.
Both. Okay.
I think there are definitely some incidents where this happens, but they're also not full disclosure in it. And this might be like a mixture of truth and lies, if that makes sense.
Okay, which actually is a fantastic answer. I think that's probably the best answer. And so for us, here we are trying to figure out what's real and what's not, and that's really the conversation. Question number 2 for you: how'd you find us? You're a first-time caller, am I right?
Yes, D-Live. And if you're wondering why I'm here, it's because I go into the esoteric stuff and so on.
That's okay. You're allowed. You don't have to explain yourself that way. I was just curious how you found us. So I want to thank you for the phone call. I want to thank you for listening tonight, and you're welcome back anytime, okay? I appreciate it, DJ.
Okay, thank you for your time. Take care, and thank you for having me here. Thank you, man.
Thank you. We'll talk to you soon. There you go. That's DJ, first-time caller tonight. Found us on D-Live, right? All kinds of different information going out there. We're on, again, Facebook, YouTube. We're on D-Live. We're broadcasting on the Fringe FM. This gets cut up into a podcast and goes out to a podcast feed. Lots of different ways people can find us, so I'm just curious how new folks that I haven't heard before, how they found us, so that's why I asked the question. All right. So we're talking about, if you're just joining us tonight, we are talking about UFOs and how they supposedly have shut down our nuclear facilities, which we've been talking about for most of the night. And the thing is that it frustrates me to no end, because this is not new information. This is from mysterywire.com. And this is a clip real quick. I'm going to play this just to kind of fill in the information that we've been talking about, and then we'll go to the phone call. We've got Beechwood on the line, and we're going to go to that in just a sec. But let me play this clip. This is kind of what spawned all this. This is the brand new information we're talking about. And this is Lou Elizondo that used to work for the government in a UFO program called AATIP, AATIP, the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. Again, his name is Lou Elizondo, and this is what he said recently. Just hit the news wire today. action?
I think for me, the most concerning, not most compelling, but the most concerning are those incidents that involve our nuclear equities. There seems to be a very distinct congruency between associated UAP activity and our nuclear technology, whether it be propulsion or weapon systems or whatnot. And that's concerning to the point where we've actually had some of our nuclear capabilities disabled by these things. So, again, let's put this in the context of foreign adversarial technology. If Russia or China had the ability to disable our nuclear strike capability or defense capability, that's pretty significant.
Exactly, and so this is the clip that spawns 1,000 conversations, right? Because it's as we've discussed tonight, it's not as simple as that. Like if you know the inside information, you know the truth, like God's truth about something. That's one thing, but we're not in that loop, are we? We're outside of that loop trying to figure this out. So I appreciate you guys being part of this. If you want to be part of the show tonight, one more time, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. If you go to troubledminds.org, the official website of this show, you can find the phone number and the Discord link, and you can be on the show either way. So let's go to Beechwood in Massachusetts. Welcome to the show, my friend. How are you tonight?
Oh, what's up, my friend? How you doing?
Doing very well. What do you think about this craziness? You think this is interesting, or you think it's old news and whatevs?
I think it's old news, but I also think it's very interesting. I think it's very vague the way that they put it out there, how they don't distinguish, enough details. Like when they say nuclear facilities and nuclear power, we all understand that, but there's a major difference between nuclear weapons and, nuclear power facilities. As far as extraterrestrials, if they're able to come here, I don't think they'd be that impressed with our nuclear power facilities. We have nuclear power, but to my knowledge, it really still has to be harnessed, and most of them, I was told, we kind of just still turn turbines to make power, and weapons is different. But I think it's somewhat of a research project, and just to put fear into people. And you see in the mainstream media, there's a lot of pressure about disclosure. And with nuclear weapons, even that word, nuclear weapon, there's a stigma attached to it. It's like the biggest, baddest thing that exists. It's like taboo. It's there's nothing worse. So or automatically, like, people stay away from it. So, yeah, the aliens here, but now they touch on nukes. So do people just say, oh, that's scary, and forget about it, and stop asking? And I think most people actually generally do. They kind of just go on with their regular everyday lives. And I think it's more of a research project to see, what ends up where, what people's reactions are. As far as the mainstream news, man, it is 95% a lie, maybe a more. And I missed the show last Thursday. I ended up in the hospital, and it was nothing like the news said it was. And I was very, very surprised. And that's all I'll say about that. If anybody wanted to talk about details of that, I'd really fill you in. And I was shocked. But that showed me, that the mainstream news is a lie. It's a blatant lie, and people are so quick to hear things to not even entertain the idea. They just believe it, and they put themselves in fear and protect themselves and leave themselves in the comfort zone. And that's what I think, the stuff with the nuclear weapons is with the aliens. And I think it's a distraction to what they really are. But that's just my take on it. And I think that has to do with the hierarchy of our society. And I was thinking about that a lot over this last week. We are so messed up as a species. We have this massive, vague middle ground that we fill with everything from ethics to you name it. It's in there. And then we justify it so it suits our survival. We look at, like, human race looks that we have to leave a good planet, for our future. We should leave good people for our planet. And, that people don't think that way all the time. People have this entitlement, and it's not always wrong. I mean, you got the right to live and survive, but I think sometimes people get carried away and they don't realize it. And what the news does is they just shape people. And I couldn't tell you exactly what they want to do with that story, but as far as them taking over the nuclear weapons, I don't think so. And, nuclear weapons, when you think about it, they're not really that useful. They ruin everything. They just you can't even use what you blow up. So I mean, it's all about fear. The people think it's about death, fear and death. There's no progress with that. If you drop a nuke, you're not making any progress at all. You just have a mess to clean up.
Yeah, and not only that,
I think they want
a mess that lasts decades and decades. It's awful.
Decades.
Yeah. Maybe that's it, right? And so I think in that, with that said, it is like the biggest, the baddest weapon of all, right? It's I am the bringer of death, or whatever the guy said that ended up creating that. I just, maybe it's counter to the nuclear deterrent, right? It's like propaganda to kind of maybe back people off of that. But I don't know. Do you think Russia's buying that? I mean, do you think North Korea's buying that? Do you think China's buying that? I don't think they're buying it at all.
That's a good point too, though. With the to back people off, the nuclear power. There's no telling what's on behind the scenes with the major power suppliers of the world. The oil company and the nuclear company. Is there a feud behind the scenes over who's going to be in control? Who's in control of the next new power source? And there is. There always is. No matter what it is, whether it's legal or illegal, people fight over power. And but there's just always something going on behind the scenes, and then you find out after. So to think that this wouldn't be any different isn't all that crazy.
Yeah. Here's another weird one. So imagine this. Imagine we've created this narrative over many, many years because we have like these, stealth weapons of sorts. I don't know what else to call them for because of course they would be super highly classified, et cetera, right? So just kind of speculating. Let's say we have the ability to shut down nuclear facilities, right, worldwide, and as a result of it, we put out the fact that UFOs are doing it to us. And then so when it happens in China, for instance, or somewhere else, you get my meaning, it will, we're able to maybe flash some lights in the sky and shut down a nuclear reactor. And China's like, oh, crap, what's happening to us now, right? Like maybe, that's the type of war games and one-upsmanship with information that happens with real, actual Cold War type stuff.
If you look at U.S. history and you can find the good stuff and you can talk to some old timers, the United States has like the most notorious reputation of doing that, of lying to create, problems. It's just fun. I think someone mentioned like the Gulf of Tonkin the other day. It was a lie.
Yeah.
So many things, fabricated.
Yeah.
So that would probably be the easiest way. It's a dirty game behind the scenes. You gotta. People don't duel with each other; they shoot each other in the back.
Exactly,
and that's I think the way it is on the global scale. So that could be, a catalyst to create a controversy of some sort like that.
And not only that, so here's an interesting one that many people don't know. In the vein of propaganda and war and Cold Wars, and as technology develops, in late World War II, there was actually a rumor that went around in the United Kingdom that carrots and carotene was good for your eyesight. Have you heard that before?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's propaganda. And you know why it's propaganda is because the actual British pilots had onboard radar for the first time, and they didn't want their enemies to know. And so the propaganda they put out was that they were shooting down the Nazi pilots because they had superior eyesight because they were feeding them a ton of carrots. And so it's still, people still believe carotene is good for your eyesight from the carrots, and it is not. It is indeed not.
Oh, hello, you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, sorry, I dropped the phone.
That's okay.
But yeah, I was listening to. I think it's fabulous about human nature. With the carrots, is that they had hidden technology, eat carrots, so people actually tried it.
Yeah.
And then when they found out they got lied to, like, they didn't feel stupid. They just brushed it off and said, "Oh yeah, well, anybody could have fell for that." So it's that easy. I could make you eat. You could make someone eat carrots.
Yeah.
People are that impressionable, and it's okay to be impressionable, but you have to realize that, hey, I may be impressionable, so it's okay to step back, ask questions.
There you go, and that's what we do. I appreciate the call, my man. We got to finish this show up. Beechwood from Massachusetts, thank you again for listening. Thanks for calling. I'm glad you're safe out of the hospital, and good health going forward. Okay.
Yeah, man, it was weird. It's a good topic for another show because someone mentioned it before. They don't find anything wrong with me. They did I don't even have health insurance. They took me in 2 minutes and they did $5,000 worth of scans on me, and they didn't find anything. I have a high white blood cell count, and I get all. But I don't know. It was interesting. But someone else mentioned that, about how when they meditate, sometimes they get sick. But yeah, awesome show. Thanks for having me on. Thanks for the good looks, and I'll talk to you later.
Appreciate it, my man. Thank you so much. Again, that's Beechwood from Massachusetts, and he's on Discord, active on there. If you guys, again, if you haven't joined the Discord, please do. troubledminds.org. Click the Discord link. Lots of smart people in there sharing links and all the other good stuff. Right, good conversations, good people, smart people. As you can tell, right? Look at the amount of smart folks we have called this show. It's incredible. Right. And I don't mean that people are dumb generally. I mean it look, in one spot, we have this collection of amazing people. And if you watch the mainstream media and go to Facebook and all the people just crapping on each other for no good reason, this is a breath of fresh air to me, and I'm glad we were able to do all this, and I'm glad you guys listen. I'm glad everybody calls in. So thank you all for being a part of this. Like I said, it does make my world go round. I appreciate it very much. So at the end of it, what is this all about? Nuclear facilities being shut down by actual UFOs. All right, we're back. We're back to that. We're back to. I mean, at what point are we tired of the same propaganda over and over again? We know this, right? If you pay any sort of attention and you know anything about UFOs, one of the things you do know is that it's been widely rumored for a very long time that UFOs interfere with and shut down nuclear facilities. Well, it's back in the news today, so what are they trying to tell us? Reiterate what happened? Tell us it's happening again? I don't freaking know. You tell me. That's why we do this. You get to decide. I don't have these answers. I wish I did. Thanks for hanging out with us. You guys are the best. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. We go Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific on the Fringe FM and also on Discord, D-Live, Facebook, and YouTube. If you're listening on the Fringe FM, stay tuned for Joe Roop Lighting the Void. If you're with us on YouTube, Facebook, or D-Live, stay tuned for a third hour of Troubled Minds. You guys are the best. Thanks again for participating. Be sure, be strong, be true. Thank you for listening. From our Troubled Minds to yours, have a great night. So we're off the radio now. We got one more hour. We're going to keep on doing this. We're still talking about this. We're still taking your phone calls. We've got Jay in the caller queue. If you guys want to be part of it tonight, what do you think? What do you think about this UFOs and nukes and this whole business? Looking to hear from you. Still got time for you. If you want to be part of this, 702-919-3739. 702-957-1037, 702-957-1037. You can join with the Discord, troubledminds.org. Discord link is on top. Quick 2-minute break, and then we're going to continue talking about this. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. We're going to take your phone calls right after this and continue talking about this. I've got all kinds of information. We can fill in the blanks here and keep on going. Thanks for being part. 2-minute break. Tuck in the kids, grab some popcorn, top off your drink, hit the restroom. Be right back. 2 minutes, more Troubled Minds. All right, 2 minutes, close enough. What's up? Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we're talking about this information that just hit tonight. It's in the mainstream media, and they're talking about these actual. Here we go. From MysteryWire.com. Pentagon officer and senator say UFOs disabled nuclear capability. All right, so this is what kind of spawned all this. It's again in the news. This is brand new from today, and here's a couple clips. Just if you're just joining us, I realize people kind of come and go on the radio here. So let's play a couple clips. This is from Lou Elizondo talking about the nuclear facilities. These clips are super short. Here we go. Looking to hear from you tonight. 702-957-1037, troubledminds.org. Click the Discord link. Love to take your calls on this. Here we go.
I think for me, the most concerning, not most compelling, but the most concerning are those incidents that involve our nuclear equities. There seems to be a very distinct congruency between associated UAP activity and our nuclear technology, whether it be propulsion or weapon systems or whatnot. And that's concerning to the point where we've actually had some of our nuclear capabilities disabled by these things. So, again, let's put this in the context of foreign adversarial technology. If Russia or China had the ability to disable our nuclear strike capability or defense capability, that's pretty significant.
It is pretty significant, right? And then on top of that, we have ex-Senator Harry Reid, former Senator Harry Reid. He's retired, and he was whatever. Whatever you think about him politically, whatever. But this is what he had to say regarding this exact same thing. And this is from a year ago. So the one we just played with Lou Elizondo is from just a few days back. Harry Reid was talking about this and nuclear facilities and UFOs a year ago. Like I said, this stuff is not new. It goes back decades and decades. So it's weird how, what are we supposed to do with this information? So think about it this way. We have no new information for us. It's been, quote, confirmed by experts. Okay, fine. So what do we know about it? What do we know about what can they do? They've really shut them down. They've made these ships inert in the water, all kinds of different things, right? So here we go. This is Harry Reid talking about the same thing. And like I said, it's frustrating because how on God's green earth are we supposed to expect that this has been happening for decades and decades and we don't know anything new about it? That's the part that drives me a little bit nuts. So here we go. This is Harry Reid, Senate Majority Leader for a very long time for the Democrat Party, talking about this exact same thing. And this was a year ago.
The occurrences of people seeing unidentified flying objects is not a dozen people here, a dozen people there, 20 here. Thousands of people have seen these. And on occasion, many hundreds of people saw the same thing at the same time. We have occurrences that are not disputed at some of our missile bases where the whole base was shut down. Electronic, if they had been asked to fire a missile, they couldn't. No one knows how they did that. We have ships that their communications went dead with these things in the water. So this is not something that just a few crackpots are trying to make a big deal out of. This is something that we as a country should be involved in it, because I guarantee you Russia's involved in it. I guarantee you China's involved in it. And European countries, especially France, has been involved in it.
Oh, good. France is involved in it. Yay, we're saved. All right. So anyway, you get the point here. Good night, Penny. Thanks for hanging out with us. The people that bounced off and I missed you. Thanks for sticking with us. Appreciate that. One more hour to go. We're looking to hear from you. 702-957-1037. What do you think about these guys saying this stuff? Nuclear facilities being shut down, tampered with by UFOs. Yeah, right. Yeah. It's not a new concept. We've been talking about this for a very, very long time. And I thought I'd bring it up because, well, it's in the news cycle again. Today, of all days. Let's go to Jay in New York. What's up? You're on Troubled Minds with Mike. How are you, my friend?
Mike, it's a pleasure. Yeah, that's crazy stuff. My memory, that happened a long time ago, right? Like a really long time ago?
Like a really long time ago. Like we're talking like late 50s and early 60s. There was reports of this. I've actually got a list here of, hold on, I'll pull this up. Go ahead and,
well, I mean, and now it's coming up again a day, you know.
Exactly.
What's coming up today? Is it about the disclosure thingies coming with the first stimulus bill in there?
Yeah, it could be.
Right.
I think it could be. I think it might be part of the media blitz, right? And that's
warming us up.
Yeah, exactly. Warming us up for what? for what?
A bunch more lies.
Maybe, right? So I linked in the chat, guys. And this is the Nuclear Connection Report. This is from NICAP.org, and they've got UFO sightings in nuclear sites, and this is put together from a database by an individual named Larry Hatch. And I'm going to just scroll down, and they have the dates and like the areas this happened and all kinds of stuff. Look, I'm scrolling. These are all UFO sightings around nuclear facilities. I'm just scrolling. He cites his sources where this.
So what was going on during that time? When was it really? Like 85?
No. This goes all the way back. So this one's 1944, 1945. 1947, 1948,
I got it now.
49. Yeah. So that's as early as he's got. But this is what I'm talking about. A little bit crazy.
When's the last one?
Yeah. And the latest ones just happened. They're well, I don't know about that because we don't really know exactly what's happening with that. But I mean, look, like this is
93 is the last one.
Is it? Yeah, I didn't scroll down to the bottom. Yeah, right.
I zipped it.
There you go. Nice.
On the iPad.
Nice. Yeah. So crazy stuff. But yeah, go ahead. So what do you think about this?
I don't know. When I was a little kid, we got to go to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, which is, kind of hanging out with you guys out there in the, Southwest, about stuff that went on there back in the day. We used to camp out there in their little campground and stuff like that. They have a very unbelievable space museum there, aircraft and everything. You could actually... 1985, maybe it was. You could touch an SR-71 the same time the Clint Eastwood movie was coming. It was like, wow, you can actually touch this thing and rub your fingers down it and feel the gaps. And it with the metal, it had to expand after it took off because it went so fast and they had to have room for it. It was really cool. Got to set in a space capsule. That was actually in space. It was really cool. The XB-71 was there, the predecessor to the Concorde. It was a super bomber. But those things were developed in 1946, 1947, and nobody knew a thing about them until the 80s.
Yeah.
They didn't get...
It's just the way the news cycle works. Yeah, exactly. Like they hide what they want. And they kind of push what they want us to know. Yeah, you know that. Yeah, crazy stuff though, right? Like the amount of information that's out there. It's nuts. It's nuts the things that people do know and don't know, and exactly it's come from the media being pushed by the government. I mean, we live in this the holy trinity of terribleness, or unholy trinity, unholy trinity of disinformation. Is disgusting. And yeah, here we are talking about it, wondering what's up. So with the nuclear stuff, do you think this is real, or do you think it's a bunch of propaganda?
I think it's possible that, it was shut down. I don't know if it was, the little green men like the Facebook page or Ash from Mars there doing it because he doesn't want to taint his food source,
That makes sense.
Well, I mean, there's got to be a reason why they're coming here. I was watching one of the things that somebody put up in the Discord the other day about they seem to congregate over deposits of phosphorus because it's a building block for life. So are they coming here and mining us and they don't really, kind of like me when I'm coming over to your house to fix your bathroom or whatever, I just want to come in and do my job and go home. You know, they're coming here to get the phosphorus or the rare earth metals or whatever they're coming here for. There's like, you know, somebody put in the chat, you know, we're morons. You know, they don't want to deal with us. They just want to come here and take our stuff and go home.
Yeah, actually,
but they got some deal with the government that says, "Hey, okay, you want to come here and take our stuff? We want to that cell phone thingy that you had when we met you in 1940.
Yeah,
I need one of those."
Yeah, well. You know? Well, maybe. That's a great comment. I'm going to read that from the chat. Chloroform's Good says this. That's the name of the individual on YouTube. I'm not actually saying Chloroform's Good, but anyway, the comment is this. Maybe the UFOs realize what dumbasses we are, and maybe life is scarce, so they don't want us destroying ourselves with nukes. And that's a great comment. You're totally right. Like who knows? Like here we are again, trying to figure out propaganda sources, you know, and odd and interesting. The same things are being pushed, kind of bubbled up to the top. That you know, when Paul called first, he was talking about Rendlesham Forest, and they were talking about shutting down nuclear facilities back then. I mean, this was ages ago. Like it seems, like I said, when we regurgitate the same information. For the people paying attention, it seems insulting. Am I right? Like if this is going to make the news again, just because a new guy said it, no offense to the credentials of the new guys or whatever, but isn't it insulting that, yeah, no shit, Sherlock, we've known this for a very long time. Like, so
that was the back of a stupid magazine when I was, 14 years old, and I'm old. That's what's crazy about it. But it seems like the same. We're dealing with like chaos management. It's all chaos. They're throwing at us different stuff everywhere we go from every different direction. So it's hard for us to focus on any one thing in particular.
Exactly.
Keep bringing up old crap.
Yeah, exactly. You just keep bringing it back. Good night, Cherry. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. Promethean Reckoning says this on DLive, warming us up for another crisis. And, I hate to say it, but it sounds as likely as anything. Just because
I just really hope it's aliens.
Yeah, right. Like give us something real this time. Make it real this time.
Yeah, yeah. We can't go there.
Yeah, right.
We'll get barred. Or zombies at least. Come on.
Something. Yeah.
Something. Real.
Yes.
It just goes back that it's cool that we have these things and we talk to people. We get to talk to people from all over the country, all over the world. That last guy that called in, DJ. That was kind of cool, Yeah,
that was a great call. Great call. Love hearing from new people. Yeah, exactly.
It's just we got to learn all we can learn. I mean, I really think we're in a position where we got to go out and look outside. Last night was the pink moon, the spring harvest moon, whatever, and I was running in and out with the binoculars. When I was putting the kids to the bed, it was down on all the buildings downtown. It was huge. It looked like a beach ball, up in the sky. So I made sure the kids took a good look at it. We stood there for a little while and checked it out. So all night long, I got a fancy pair of binoculars that Uncle Sam gave to me. And we're checking it out all night. Well, once it started getting up there high in the sky, the airplanes came with their exhaust and kind of clouded it up for a good hour. Well, the college kids next door to me went out at about 10:30, quarter of 11, set up their tripod and their fancy, $1 billion camera and everything else like that. And we're taking pictures of it. And they said, hey, you guys are looking at that digital camera. You want to check out the just pieces of glass binoculars? And they were like, oh, wow. Holy crap, dude.
How old are you, bro?
But it was better than their digital camera.
Yeah, because they can't. That's part of the problem too. Is that these cameras,
ones and zeros aren't waves.
Yeah, well, there's that, and then there's also the fact that these, you can get some amazing resolution images But these cameras aren't set up to take photographs of things like that. It's you need like these wide angle, like telescopic lenses and all kinds of shit. I'm not a photographer, so I can't even tell you what you need, but I know you need like thousands of dollars of equipment to like take a proper photograph of the moon. So it is what it is,
Back in like 1985 or something like that, I actually got a job working for Meyer Thrifty Acres. It was like the beginning of Walmart. Half of it was a grocery store, and the other half of it was like clothing and hardware and automotive and everything else. And the only reason why I got the job there is because my dad said, if you want that kind of camera equipment and you want to use that much film, you need to get a job. You're spending $14 a week in batteries to run all that crap.
Yeah.
It was back when $14, your allowance was nowhere near $14.
Right.
But,
that was real money back then.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking, $10 short of the grocery bill for the week. But it's just, nobody uses those anymore. I can't remember who it was. I think it was Paul that was saying something about how everything's digital now with the, you can zoom in and it looks crystal clear. And then you want to say, I really want to focus on this one point. And then you blow it all up and it's nothing but pixels.
Yeah.
Last night, they got a picture of something funky. And I said, dude, you got to email that to me because I know a bunch of people that would really like to check that thing out. It looked like a Tic Tac with a Chaos satellite around it, leaving a trail, all light. And I was like, what? And they're like, what is this? And I'm like, I don't know what it is. How are you taking your pictures? Are you actually pushing the button on your camera or are you doing it remotely? And he's like, I got a little thingy. And it was a button. And he held in his hand and he was doing it wirelessly to it. And I was like, okay, so that rules that one out. He said, so you're going to email all those to me? He goes, I'll try to get it done tomorrow. And he has to go to school to download the chip out of the camera into the computer to email him. Such a pain in the ass. It was a pain in the ass back in the day too. You had to have the film develop and wait.
Yeah. It's always it doesn't have to be like that. You can. It doesn't. Things have changed quite a bit, but but I mean, it just depends on your equipment. But anyway, all right. So back to the thing. Propaganda, little green men. What do you think?
It's got to be a bit of both, I mean, are the little green men, I mean, you look at the stuff that they're discovering in Antarctica and stuff like that now, these microbes are nowhere else on Earth, Is that because some guy went up there and was picking around the ice and looking at it and huffed a bunch of them in, and now he's different? There was I think it was German. There was a Netflix show called The Rain, where the kid got a disease and his father tried to save him and it ended up causing the end of the world. But he gave him some really messed up disease to try to cure his leukemia or whatever it was.
That's not good.
Are we doing? Are we doing something like that? I mean, are we really? Are we the aliens from way back in the beginning? All the stories where the moon lady came down that Dark and Devious put on today. That came down and the prince wasn't going to let her go until he gave her a child. So, we're all part alien anyway. I mean, those go forever, all different kinds of religions and everything.
Yeah, those stories go way back. Very much like this story. Back to what was that list I had? 1944?
The first one? Yeah.
1944.
Where are we with it all? I mean, just they keep telling us, and it's like we don't really want to believe it, or we just want to see it, or the fact of the matter is hey, look, it's us. We're the aliens. We're stuck here,
Yeah.
Go Elon, sell all your Bitcoin and get us to Mars so we get the hell out of here.
No, you got to take the Bitcoin to Mars. Now, what I'm scrolling through here is this. This is UFO sightings and nuclear sites from a database put together by Larry Hatch, and it goes back. There's over what, 500 of these? It looks like. Actually, I don't know. They're numbered. Okay, so it looks like they've been
scrolled.
Yeah, numbered and redacted. Anyway, so 1944 was the first one, the first UFO sightings in nuclear sites. Then it goes all the way down to 1993. So, and that's just, again, that's one database. So clearly, like it depends on who's keeping records, where the information came from. So, there's got to be another database, more or less complete that, you can add, or it's just unbelievable, this stuff that we end up here talking about UFOs, nuclear sightings. Like I said, it's not new. Like it doesn't take much of like just Googling around. Well, not Google, because they censor the shit out of everything now. But DuckDuckGo, let's say. I'm going to go ahead and plug them because they do some fine work without tracking us. But anyway, you get the point, right? It's you poke around a little bit and you see these stories go back for decades and decades and decades and decades. It's not new. So what is the point of bringing this out now? Is it, like you said, is it part of that 6-month UFO disclosure project? Like, what do they want?
Gotta be.
What do they want here? Like
they're warming us up for it. They are. Maybe that's why it is with the taboo topic with the diapers and all that other. Try to stay away from saying any word that would get you in trouble. But maybe that's why. Maybe we're really going to need all that crap. This is coming. They're coming for us. We know that. We've known it. Well, we've known it since 1944 when that thing crashed in there, and we were trying to help the guy out, and he ate one of us. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we still don't even know what happened.
Yeah, no, they've
what, 25, 30 years, everybody was, it's just a weather balloon. If you talk about anything about that, we're going to put your hardware store out of business,
Yeah, exactly. And very much like what happened around the Pentagon around, let's say, September 11th, 2001. But here, go ahead.
Yeah. No, well, I mean, I got friends that are alive that, that were there, They, that's just, there's God only knows, dude. I mean, you're talking about people that I've known, got drunk with, campouts with, kids' birthday parties, and everything. And they don't know. They just don't know. And they're not supposed to say anything. And they don't.
Because you can't. You can't.
My dad's been retired for kid's 18, 15 years. He still don't talk about it. He listens to your show. And he makes peanut gallery comments to me the next day when we're talking on the phone, usually during the first hour of your show. But he won't say nothing. He was on the shuttle recovery team,
Yeah, there's people
out there that flew over, they know. That's not the only thing they're going after, What is it? It's in your area. You got to go. What is it? I don't know. What would you find? I don't know. Above my pay grade. I have no idea what the hell that was.
Exactly. Yeah. And there's lots of people that see lots of things, and that's part of why we're doing this. NS on YouTube says this: interstellar travel never considers time dilation at relative speed. So I don't know, Mike. A 2-week trip at relative speed could equal hundreds or thousands of years in real time. And that's part of the problem, right? The closer you get to light speed, the more dense your mass becomes. And then, of course, time slows down. So it's so there's that, right? But then there's also like the interdimensional version of that same thing. That maybe
there's no way we're going there physically. You know what I mean? There's no way.
Yeah, no, exactly.
I mean, you might be, but the thing is, though, is you're leaving when Jesus was an altar boy, and you're coming back. When I don't know, my kid has a chance to be a president. I mean, it's just that that's not gonna physically. It's not possible.
No, it's possible.
There's differences in time where you are on the planet. Time is different from one section of the planet to the other section of the planet.
Right. I'm just saying you got to get in the right club to be the president. That's all.
I'm definitely not there.
Okay, yeah, same here, same here.
So I'm just a carpenter.
Yeah, like I said, man, Jesus was a carpenter. It's all good. All right, look, now here's another thing I got. Rents.com. Here's another actual incidents. Okay, looking back over the 40 years during the 40th anniversary of UFOs in modern times, it is interesting to note that UFOs have been seen and recorded near various atomic energy locations in this country and overseas. This link was first noticed by Captain Edward Ruppelt in Ruppelt, I think is how you say it, in 1952, and reported in Look magazine article titled "Hunt for the Flying Saucer." Captain Ruppelt, who directed the U.S. Air Force Project Blue Book at that time when viewing a folder of 63 mystifying UFO reports that had been plotted on a map in the United States, discovered that it showed an ominous correlation with the location of various atomic energy installations. Look magazine learned that some high-ranking officers had taken note of this fact and had then held a Pentagon conference to discuss these numerous strange concentrations that have continued to this day. And look, I'm going to scroll down this one too. Every single one of these is an incident, and I'll read a couple of these as we go and finish this off because, this is these are the types of things that are happening. Here's the sources. And there's 17 more. So we've got the database that goes back to 1944, and then now we have this, which is 17 other incidents that came from supposedly Project Blue Book. So I mean, like I said, it's not hard to find. It's out there. And so what are they trying to wake us up from? I think that's part of the problem. Anything else? What we got you on the phone tonight, my man?
I think we're at the point where they got to tell us now. After 2020. And they're probably like, the guys sitting around, it's like, after what we put them through last year, why the hell not? Let's just tell them and get it over with. Rip the scab off, Here you are. We're going to tell you. Half of it's going to be bullshit. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and
we got to come clean with you. The reason why our budget's been this high and everything else like that, because we've been dealing with aliens for the last 70-something, 80, 100,000 years. Well,
they would kind of render money moot, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah. Everybody's going to be, what do we got to do? Dig a hole in the ground and hide from them when they come? I mean, really, if they've got that kind of technology or that they're that far advanced, whether it's interdimensional or whatever, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
We're going to let them take whatever they want.
Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of my point too. So the reason I'm not worried about aliens, and let's assume aliens are real and they're a threat. The reason I'm not worried about it, because if they are, we're screwed anyway. You know what I mean? Like, so what's the point? Like, why worry about that? It's like if you spend your life twiddling your thumbs worrying that you're going to die one day, well, it's a certainty. So why are you going to spend your time twiddling your thumbs worrying about the fact that everybody's going to die one day? You know what I mean? It's a
difference between being alive and living.
Exactly right. So there's
the dog and the wife for a walk in the park.
There you go.
Hang out with the kids.
There you go. Exactly. Have a nice barbecue, even though we're not allowed to yet. They tell us.
Wait a minute. We've been doing that all along. You go outside, get some sun and some fresh air. Now, you got to have a vaccine to go outside and get fresh air? If you're alone?
And have a barbecue with your own family. Yeah.
That one kind of made me scratch my head when I saw that. Wait a minute. If you go outside and you're socially distanced from everybody, getting fresh air, that's a good thing. Well, now, if you're vaccinated, it's okay.
It's okay. It's okay. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna read a few of these, and we're gonna keep on trucking. You're the best, Jay. As always, we'll talk to you soon. We got 2 more shows this week, Wednesday and Thursday, and we're gonna keep on doing our thing. Thanks for listening.
Where's the new show, Mike?
It's coming, buddy. It's coming. Just a little birdie told me probably Friday. So wink, wink. Pay attention.
All right.
I'll announce it on the Discord, but probably Friday. We'll probably start the new show back on Friday. So just letting you know.
Thanks, Mike. I miss him.
Thanks, man. Thanks for missing it, and thanks for being part of the show. We'll talk to you soon, Jay.
Good night.
Thanks, brother. There you go. If you guys want to be a part of the show, simple as that. You can give us a call, or you can jump on the Discord. Troubledminds.org is the official website. Phone number is this, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Looking to hear from you. I'm going to read a few of these now from rents.com. We're talking about this actual nuclear energy, UFOs visiting these nuclear energy sites. And like I said, it's an unbelievable amount of data that you can find. And if this stuff's real, let's throw half of it out as being uncorroborated or fake or this or that or the stretched, or there's still a shit ton of accounts of this, right? I don't know, right? Like, again, that's here we are trying to figure this stuff out and being whatever it is we're being. Let's see. NS says this. Come on, guys. The clause in the 2020 stimmy package isn't going to make them tell us shit, and I kind of agree with you there. We ain't going to get shit out of it. That's the unfortunate thing. But okay, here we go. This is from, again, rents.com. I'm going to link this, and we'll just read a couple of these because this is important, right? You go back to the old days. I mean, we're going back to the old days with this. This is a little bit ridiculous. What's up, Tam Bam? I see you there in the chat. Thanks for showing up. What's up? Tim says, Yahtzee. What's up, buddy? Looking to hear from you, Tim, if you're feeling well enough. Come on, hop in here, man. Larry says, old stories of Atlantis having super weapons and aircraft. Did they actually throw down on aliens and get wasted? Was the earthquake, underwater volcano sinking, landmass theory an early cover-up? That's a good question. And I think, going back to the ancient civilizations, I think there's a lot of actual there's a lot of data to suggest that humans have been advanced, at least advanced greater than the archaeology will tell us, right? And I think there's a lot of compelling data to suggest that. It's just that they don't want to go there yet, and that's that forbidden archaeology bit. But yeah, man. Maybe they say Atlantis is a fable. I'm not so sure. You may be right there. Old stories of Atlantis having super weapons and aircraft and modern technology, crystal technology, all kinds of stuff. So yeah, looking to hear from you guys. We got Tim calling in. Thanks, Tim. You want to be part of the show? We've got time for you yet. We got another 30 minutes still talking about UFOs and nukes. Do you think it's propaganda? You think it's BS? You think it's little green men? What the hell do you think it is? 702-957-1037, troubledminds.org. Click the Discord link, and let's go to Tim in Georgia. What's up, Tim? You're on Troubled Minds. How are you, my man?
Hey, how are y'all? Wish I felt better, man. Feeling under the weather. One of the things I wanted to call in and say about this subject is I got to take you on a little bit of a journey, and it's going to take a couple minutes. But, okay, go back to the Cuban Missile Crisis. At that time, battlefield commanders in both NATO and the Soviet Union at the rank of lieutenant and colonel had the ability, under certain conditions, to order to launch independently of the nuclear weapons under their control. Now, because of many situations that happened during the Cold War, Hollywood got together with the commie crowd, and they made a movie with Stanley Kubrick as the director, Dr. Strangelove. And the reason why they made that movie was because at the time it was made, battlefield commanders still had control of those arsenals. And after that movie came out, it didn't take Congress long, with push from the American public because of that movie, to decide to take away that authority and place it solely with the president and vice president and the chain of command in the advent of war. That's a process for unleashing the nuclear arsenal. The problem with that is all of a sudden now it takes all this time to make those decisions. Now, if you go back to last year in November, shortly after the election, Pelosi started screaming that, she had been screaming she didn't want Trump to have the nuke codes, and then she started screaming that Biden, you can look up news articles, I can prove this.
I remember.
She didn't want him to have the nuclear football either, okay? Now, there's a reason why. The same reason why that guy came on is because myself have been pushing very hard in internet land to help get rid of the disinformation. And specifically, a couple shows I did the other day started to catch on. And then Third Phase of the Moon noticed, hey, I've got SBR3 footage that somebody gave them to use as an exclusive turned out to be 7 years old, and they had to retract that video. And they did the right thing and owned up and said, hey, look, we were kind of victimized. And they were victimized. They weren't treated right. And you got to understand there's some very powerful CGI groups that are using YouTube channels and Facebook feeds to disseminate a lot of stuff out there that people are using, and it fuels the whole entire industry.
It does. It does. People see it.
I can't name names on some of this stuff yet, but in the near future, we will be naming the names of some of the folks that are behind this, because a lot of that footage ends up in mainstream media, and they're paying for it. And what's unfortunate is, like in the case of Senator Harry Reid from the film last year, it's on Amazon. You can check out. He's featured in that UFO. That's what that footage is actually from. It's from the Amazon special that he's in on Amazon Prime. But anyways, they don't want America to be able to defend itself. And this is our enemies through lobbying, through any device, any method they can, and incrementalism, and through the United Nations. Remember, this is all part of the agenda, folks. Okay? They don't want us to have a nuclear arsenal to be able to fight back. Notice nobody's trying to do that to China or Russia, period. And we had trust but verify with our different treaties. The INF Treaty, which is Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces, and then the START Treaty, which was for ICBMs and submarine launch stuff. And we had trust but verified, but what happened is under a certain president for 8 years, nobody verified anything that the Russians and Chinese were doing. And while we were dismantling our nuclear arsenal, the enemy was building their arsenal even bigger and better with more powerful hypersonic weapons. And now we're playing catch-up. And John and I did an episode last night where, we make a very good point in that episode that has to do with what we're talking about. And I have been covering UFO stuff a little bit here lately. Only to point out, I let people make up their own mind. All I'm doing is pointing out the disinformation campaign and what's behind it and the reason why. They don't want us to have a nuclear arsenal. And if they can make you believe that extraterrestrials can somehow take control of these things, or our enemies, Russia and China, as was mentioned in the video, he says, well, what if Russia and China has more technologically advanced than us and have the ability to come over? Well, then that would be a reason. If we take them out of the equation and we don't have them, then they can't use them against us or cause a catastrophe. And that's where they're driving this. And, that all goes to Pelosi and members of government saying we need to have a committee. Yeah, well, is a committee going to take 3 days and decide to fire back after we've already absorbed the first and second strike? And there's nothing left to fire back with while they're underground in a bunker? Because this is absolute ludicrous and insane what we're watching going on. And then for these people to drag up all this old information, and just understand this, no credible launch control officer from the United States Air Force has ever come forward and said that he has gone offline due to a UFO being over the base in the silo he was at. It's not how it works, folks. And the triggers on nuclear weapons don't work like the movies say they do. Period. End of story. People need to educate themselves on this a little bit, because if they're saying something flew overhead and was able to shut down that missile battery and the independent and redundant systems and the way they're designed and set up, I'll eat my hat. It didn't happen. It didn't happen. Maybe they had something to shut the system down, but that was within its design, something tampered with, maybe even espionage by technicians, who knows? But it certainly didn't come from above, and they're hardened sites, which means there's a lot of EMP proofing that goes on in the hard circuits in the technology for the systems that they need to use to put in the programming and weapons package to tell the weapon where to go and what to hit, all that stuff. And then even right down to turning the keys simultaneously, and all the preventative checks they have to do to make sure that it's a real launch and not a drill. All those things that take place. Well, no launch control officer has ever come forward and said, I couldn't do my job, and we've never, ever not performed a readiness test for SAC, for Glickem, or any part of our nuclear-armed military. They've always delivered. Maybe not the whole battery, but they've always delivered enough to consider the job done. And those units don't fail. There is no room for failure. I don't think people understand the caliber of people that you're dealing with in the Air Force and in the Navy when you're talking about dealing with nuclear weapons. These aren't just every average day people, okay? They don't, there's no room for error. There's no room for mistakes. They're reliable people. And mostly it's people that were assigned to these bases or around the periphery of the job, and they'll say, I was in the nuclear military, but they weren't the guy down in the silo. They aren't the person that would really know if they were off or online or not. And to my knowledge, I've never seen our military admit that they couldn't carry out a nuclear readiness drill due to any kind of circumstance like that. So Senator Harry Reid, I think, has watched a lot of television, and I think a lot of other people have, and I think it has really hurt us speculation on things, and I think he needs to go and sit down with the Air Force and the Navy and have a very long talk, because we just watched a whole bunch of news organizations and YouTube channels and everybody doing UFO news use a bunch of deep fakes that are CGI. Literally.
Yeah.
And I had it on the show last night in the links for it that proved my point. And it's all coming out and catching up. And so for them to do this and for him to come out with all this is like, it's desperation, folks. You got the recount in Arizona, judges being replaced. It's desperation. It's absolute desperation. It's we can't let them know or we lose our power. And it's simply, it's simply that. And the other thing you got to look at it too is this way. There are some things they can explain. And when you're in power, the worst thing you can do, being the captain of a ship, is look at your crew and say, I don't know. The captain has to always know whether he is right or wrong. And when you're in charge and you're running a country, the worst thing you can do is say, well, I don't know what's going on with my nuclear arsenal. I don't know what's going on with this, because it creates doubt in people's mind. And that's failure of leadership.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like
you never say that. You say, yeah, we nerve gas that city on purpose. If a general goes rogue and does something stupid, the last thing you do is tell the rest of the world, well, we lost control of this senior military officer and he wiped out 40,000 people. No, it would be, well, we got tired of them. They were all terrorists, right down to the 3-year-old children were holding AK-47s, and we decided to just take them out. And that's literally how you would have to handle that. If not, the rest of the world would be ready to go to war with you.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. You're right.
Would be ready to take you out.
You're right, and it's an exercise in public relations, and unfortunately, that's what we're dealing with a government that is not transparent whatsoever. We're talking about space, we're talking about NASA. Never a straight answer is the old term, right? I mean, they are the PR front of a secret space program. And that's exactly what we're dealing with. We're dealing with PR front, and you're exactly right. The PR front of a government is never going to admit their shortcomings, because then if they do, there is an existential crisis of actual command and faith in the system. And you're right, they can't. And so interestingly, though, so I've got this list of all these things. I'm sure you saw the links of all these folks that said that UFOs over nuclear facilities and all this other stuff, all the way back to 1944. These have to be leaks in some capacity, right? Because there's no way this is official information that said, oh, yeah, by the way, in let's say September 1944, over a nuclear base in Middle America, they shut down our nukes. Nobody said that. That's not an official thing. It's an unofficial thing. It's a leak. Who knows? And you may be right. This may be an entire drummed up bunch of BS here regarding this. So hold on. So I know that you were talking about recently that third phase had that TR-3B up. Did you see that was fake?
Yeah.
That was actually from
absolutely.
A previous thing, like from years ago, like a CGI expert. But
7 years ago.
But third phase said that they actually had a FOIA, and that's where they got the information from. Am I right on that?
Yeah, that's right. That's correct. And it's disinformation artists. And
and I call them. I hate to say this, but they're like there's some Simon Parks type people in this world that are very convincing, and we all have to be careful of folks like that. Because I'm going to tell you something, man. People can take you for a ride, and when they walk off and leave the crowd, they are smiling from ear to ear that they just took that whole crowd. The story of the gambler, my friend. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They don't. There's a lot of unscrupulous people, and most people are decent people, and it's hard for a lot of Americans, especially people who've been raised with a good moral standard. It's hard. They're naive, and they don't get that there are people out there that don't care about your feelings or any of that crap, and they'll just, if they can make a living at it, they'll do it, and they'll tell you whatever. And the other thing, too, is counter the coin-op aspect to all this, where the military tests a lot of stuff. We know they do, and they want to keep that a secret. And I would think if we had came up with our own UFO-style aircraft and we wanted to use it over a foreign territory to test where their nuclear facilities might be underground or whatever, we would want to practice that here in our country first over our own nuclear facilities, and then go do it over Russia and China and other places like that. So there is the other coin to that, and that's another explanation that people have offered in the past that I've seen offered. And in some ways, that's a more befitting explanation of the event. And in order to turn people away from that, the best way to do that would be what Senator Reid has done and say, well, you know, it's little green men or maybe our adversaries. Well, usually nobody wants to acknowledge, well, maybe we were testing our own stuff, because that's what you're trying to avoid, absolutely trying to avoid that. And so you do the two most other audacious things that you can do to distract from what's staring everybody right in the eye, which is usually close to where there's nuclear facilities, folks. They're usually testing some kind of aircraft or something like that. It's usually pretty close by, you know.
For sure.
The two kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah.
And because the level of security at a nuclear installation means, especially where the Air Force is involved and there's a runway, if they have what's called a hot aircraft and they need to get that aircraft in and undercover so it's not seen by satellite, any alternative Air Force runway where there's any kind of nuclear operation going on there whatsoever is going to have very high level of security, and they'll be able to put it in revetment, out of sight, out of mind, out of satellite detection. And you got to think about things like that too as well. And you know, just like with the pyramid thing, that's now been debunked. One of the top UFO guys came out and said, measure the airspeed. That's actually a Navy aircraft that's flying over those Navy ships. And they knew that. The press knew that. The Navy knows that. Them sailors know that. That came from the media. It wasn't like them sailors called up and said, hey, they went and found that on the internet and made a big, huge deal about it, when in fact that is an S-3 propeller-driven AWACS-type Navy aircraft from the carrier, and it's flying, you know, it's doing its duty flying over that formation of ships out at sea. And when you look at that in a video editor, you can clearly see different places where the rest. And first of all, UFOs don't have navigation lights, ladies and gentlemen. That's the first dead giveaway. What would a UFO be doing with an international set of navigation lights on it? Period. And if you do the astronomy like the great UFO debunker did, the stars match identically to the astronomy, and people need to go watch his video and how he scientifically proves it's an aircraft, and that's based on the amount of distance it's covered and how fast it was going. It's obviously an aircraft and not a UFO. And then when you break down the video and truly look at it, you can see that it's not pyramid. That's from the glare of the aircraft recognition lights from the aircraft being lit up. And that's the other dead giveaway, is UFOs usually don't advertise they're there with blinding lights on them.
Yeah, with I mean, like I said, it's I don't know, like we don't even know what to believe anymore, just because of all the propagandists, and I'm not so sure that they think they're propagandists. I think that in many cases that people are fooled by quote insider sources, anonymous sources, and being used as propaganda outlets without realizing it, because they want to believe, Again, like I said, without saying names, you can kind of go down the line and really just kind of pick out the people who are constantly pushing these things, and with kind of sketchy footage in some cases that easily, maybe not easily debunked, but where kind of a discerning eye can be like, nah, that ain't it. That's not aliens. I'm sorry, it's just not happening.
There's so many people that have come out that even the Pentagon now is like, we really didn't confirm that, and now it's even, kind of admitted that the media is just grabbing stuff. And Third Phase of the Moon had a video come out today, and I really love the work that Mr. Reese does on his channel. And it's his brother, Greg Reese, that went to work for InfoWars for a while and was doing a lot of quality video work for them. He made a lot of their better documentaries that have come out the last couple years, and they're out of Hawaii, and they do wonderful work. I've followed them for years, man, and if it can happen to them, it can happen to any of us to accidentally pass off stuff and not realize being in the heat of what we do, what we're passionate about, and that's where we have trust, and we try to build trust with other people, and then something like that happens, and what it is, they do that so it discredits it discredits everybody. And there were some debunking artists that were making bad videos about them, and it pissed me off. I sent some of them emails and said, hey man, you shouldn't knock them. They came out and printed a retraction, did a video retraction, and was honest with their audience when very few people would have been and wouldn't have swallowed their pride. But they're like you are, That's not the kind of guys they are. They're straight up. And
who are we talking about? Third Phase or no?
They've always had one of the best UFO channels ever.
We talking about Third Phase? Third Phase or somebody else?
Third Phase of the Moon.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're saying they're stand-up guys, and they'll retract. Holy crap! There's my dog. So you're saying they'll actually retract the information? Hey, can you give me one sec?
Yeah, they did, man. They came on the very next day and said 10 hours later they put out a video and said, folks, hey, we were wrong about this footage.
No shit.
This is what happened, and they explained it.
No shit.
Yeah, man. They're straight up, dude. And I defended them when I did a video the other night. I defended them when I went live the other night. I said, look, there's people doing hit pieces on them. They didn't do this deliberately. They had a so-called insider that more or less, sold them and pawned this footage off of them and told them it was real and supposed to be credentialed bona fide person that supplies media and other people with footage, and then it turned out to be CGI work from 7 years earlier. They explained it all on their video 10 hours later after they had initially put that one out.
Okay, so I didn't know that. I figured that they just roll with it. That's good.
They're not
that's
disinformation artists. They try to be like, they're like you are. They try to get to the root of everything. And so I'll defend them all day long because that's happened to them in the past before too, and they came right out and said, hey, look, folks, be aware of this. This is what happened. And there's not a lot of folks that'll do that. Not a lot of folks that'll really do that.
And not only that, interesting the way the media works too is so I saw the footage. I knew it was from Third Phase, and then I found out shortly thereafter it was fake. But I was never pointed to, because I didn't go look, one, my fault, but two, you'd figure the people that point out that it's fake, I saw it on Twitter, didn't actually give them credit for coming clean themselves. So you see, like
that's
this,
right.
Yeah, which is not fair. It's not fair. If they did, props to them.
Campaign. They did it to discredit the people who do find real stuff, is what I'm getting at.
Right.
For the 10% of real stuff that's out there, how they discredit that is by exactly that type of operation.
Exactly. And then even me, whose ear is close to the ground with ufology and this stuff, I didn't even know they had retracted it. So again, somebody out there had made a conscious effort to say, look, these guys fucked up, but not to say, look, they admitted they fucked up. So yeah, man, the crazy world we live in. This is a crazy world.
It is. It's like walking through a minefield when you get on the internet. It really is. It's like, ooh, here we go.
Here we go again. Tim, we're about to finish this up.
Again. Yeah.
We're about to finish this up. You're the best as always, man. You want to tell people about your channel? Please do.
Tinfoil Timothy, YouTube, D-Live, Digital Age. Come check me and John out. We cover all kinds of stuff, a little bit of everything. We're fixing to change it up again, and there's some other subjects out there that the press is ignoring, and that's what we try to do is fish around and look at things that don't make sense, that need a closer scrutiny, things that we probably should be looking at rather than what they're telling us to look at. That's kind of the gist of it,
Yeah, great stuff.
Anything goes. And we have a Discord now so that you can call up and talk with us, put your 2 cents worth in.
There you go.
And
it makes the world go round.
You'll be able to say it.
Do you have a schedule yet?
No, we sure don't. No,
okay.
It's hard for me to do that, man. We will shortly, though.
That's okay.
I'm hoping probably by this weekend.
It's okay.
Going into next week.
When you get it solidified,
be a broadcast.
Just let me know, because I want to jump in and say hi and be part of it from time to time. I want to help you guys out because you guys have done a hell of a job helping me out. So I just want to know where I can look and when. So that's why I ask. So you let me know, man. I'd love to be part of it. Love to come say hi and hang out and talk shop. I'm sorry. And so that's what's up. Everybody, this is Tim from Georgia. He's John. Actually, he's a partner with him in this endeavor. Tinfoil Timothy, and you can find it on D Live and also on YouTube. And I think that's it, right? Those are the 2 spots.
Also on Twitch.
Twitch, okay. Oh, Twitch. You're on Twitch too. Twitch
and Facebook. There's a Tinfoil Timothy University page on Facebook that I broadcast on too.
Okay.
And we're fixing to add Trovo as well.
Okay. Sweet. Good stuff, man. Get it out there. Like you saw, we had a great caller from DJ tonight. We found him on D-Live. We don't get a lot of action on D-Live, but people are out there listening, So it's a good thing. Reach is reach, and spread it far and wide. I appreciate the call, my friend. You're the best. Feel better. Tim called in tonight. Feeling under the weather.
I'm fixing to crash here in a little bit, man. I slept most of the day. I had no energy. My legs feel like lead weights, and the pollen is it's covering everything, man. And it hit me today. Bam. Ooh. Not good.
Feel better.
Antihistamines.
Hell yeah, brother. I had allergies bad too when I was younger. I get it. So feel better, get well, good health you going forward. Thanks again for taking the time to call tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mike. Y'all have a good one.
Thanks, man. You too. Talk to you soon. That's Tim from Georgia, Tinfoil Timothy University. You can find him on Tinfoil Timothy D Live and also on YouTube, and Tinfoil Timothy on Facebook. Good stuff, guys. Good stuff. Again, right? So, as usual, right? This is not the answer show. We're not here trying to convince you of this or that or the other thing. It's just, it's important to kind of get different thought patterns, people with different information, people together to have these discussions, because we're not allowed to anymore, right? We're not allowed to get together and agree or disagree and not hate each other, right? Like I said, go to Facebook and go to a UFO group and say, hey, just like something as innocuous as, oh, by the way, guys, do you think it's possible most of this could be disinformation? And then you're going to get run out on a rail. Like they're just going to come after you and be like, no, fuck off. These are all little green men, right? And I don't know. Like, I'm not so sure about that. And that's why we do it. That's why we talk about this stuff. And that's why we do this show the way we do. So Thank you so much to all the guys tonight, all the folks, people, individuals that have called in and been a part of this show. Thanks to everybody out there that's listening. You guys know what's up. We're going to do, we do it 3 nights a week. We got tomorrow night, we're going to do, we'll have Ash on the show, and we're going to talk about some crazy stuff like we always do. And consider the possibilities, right? You got to consider the possibilities. So thanks again for hanging out. Thanks for being here. I'm going to play the outro music. Let's play this one. Let's do this. Let's play that. Does that work? No. Is it working? Come on, you can do it. Oh, there we go. There we go. Yeah. All right. Now, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 7 p.m. Pacific, Troubled Minds. I'm Mike. You're you. Together, we're us. And together, we're more powerful. Together, we are actually... can move the needle. Remember, don't get hung up on trying to tell people they're wrong. Don't get hung up on trying to be stuck in a echo chamber of BS. We come here with troubled and open minds and try and discuss these things and think about them in new ways. And that's what we do. Thanks for hanging out, guys. You're the best. One more time, thank you to all the people listening. Please, if you want to help the show, go to the podcast. You can find troubledminds.org right there on the top. You can find the iTunes link. Leave us an iTunes review, pretty please. Thousands of people listening to this show. 35 reviews on iTunes. What the hell? Please leave us a review. Thanks for hanging out. You guys are the best. We'll be back tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Pacific with Ash. You know the drill. Be sure, be strong, be true. Thank you for listening. From our troubled minds to yours, have a great night.